under the matter of Foltz versus Foltz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
You have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister.
How old is she?
She's 26.
And how long ago did your parents divorce?
I was about 3 or 4 years old.
Mr. Foltz, this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you gave your daughter $3,000 for her wedding.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of circumstances, you decided not to go to the wedding, and you want that money back.
Yes, ma'am.
And your daughter said that this $3,000 was an unconditional gift, and she's already spent it on deposits, etc., for the wedding. When is the wedding scheduled?
May of next year.
Now, how many children do you have, Mr. Foltz?
2 children, 2 stepchildren.
And how long have you been married to your second wife?
15 years.
And how old are those children?
21.
21
25.
and 25.
Okay. So let's get down to it. You called your dad.
Mm-hmm.
You told him you were planning a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
You asked him for some help.
I actually didn't ask him for help. He said to me that he felt it was only fair that he pay 50% and that my mother pay 50%.
Well, that was very nice of him. So you had a reasonable relationship with him if he said that to you, at least now?
Up until, yeah, until recently, yes.
I want to ask your mother some questions, okay?
Come on up, Mom.
What's your last name?
Bean.
Your daughter told you initially, after she had spoken to her father, and her father agreed to contribute to the wedding, that it was her intention of having both of you walk her down the aisle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were not happy with that?
It was not I was okay with it. I was fine with it. I was just worried that his animosity may create some problems.
Did you convey that to your daughter?
I already knew that.
Just a minute. That's not what I asked.
Yes, I did.
I'm asking you these questions, Jennifer, because, you know, if you've been around the block as long as I have, and as many times, nothing is new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting the following picture. When you spoke to your father, and he said to you, I really want to pay for half the wedding, and you told him that it was your intention to have your 2 parents walk you down the aisle,
Mm-hmm.
he was pleased about that.
No, he wasn't.
Well, he says he was.
He wasn't.
Well, you don't know that because you weren't on the phone with him. But then later you told him that it was your intention only to have your mother walk you down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's then that he became angry.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I want my money back. I'm not going to the wedding under those circumstances.
Can she tell you what happened after that?
Sure.
Tell her what happened after that. The planning.
Yeah, as my wedding planning progressed, my dad just kept making demands on me as far as he wanted his own table, he wanted it to be up front, he wanted to invite certain people, and he was just putting extra stress on me that I was already going through with the wedding.
Okay. Well, how many people were you planning on having at the wedding?
80, 100.
Well, then, wouldn't it be normal for him to have his own table?
I think he was under the impression that there would be my parents having their own table and my fiance's parents having their own table, and he wanted to make sure he wouldn't be sitting with my mother.
So, what's wrong with that?
There's a lot wrong with that.
No, there isn't. Jennifer. There's not a lot wrong with that. If you had 2 parents who really got along beautifully with each other and they had this lovely relationship that had developed over the years despite the fact that they were not together, then there wouldn't have been anything untoward about them sharing a table. But if you knew that they did not enjoy that kind of relationship, then you should have been smart enough to say, you have your table with your family. Of course, Dad.
Yeah, I did say that.
If you have your table with your family, and Mom will have her table with her family, or maybe Mom will sit with, what's the boyfriend's name?
Doug.
Mom is going to sit with Doug's family, and you could sit with your family. 80 people. You're not going to all sit at one table. So, I've just taken care of that problem. Now, what's the second problem that he raised?
He wanted to invite certain guests, and I wanted to have a smaller wedding. I didn't want strangers
Who did he
at
want?
my wedding.
Who did
Some close friends of his.
How many?
I think there were 2 of them.
That's reasonable, Jennifer.
Right, but if he wasn't even really involved in my life, why would he want to share that with other people?
Jennifer, you were willing to take his money, weren't you?
He offered
Just
it
a
to
second.
me.
You were willing to take his money,
Yes,
weren't you?
I was.
If you're willing to take his money, and if you said to him, and I want you and Mom to walk me down the aisle, and then You say, I changed my mind because he was making, according to you, unreasonable demands. I'm telling you, you're out of line. And I really wasn't prepared to go that way.
Listen, can I say something now?
Sure, you sure can.
I did not change my mind because I changed my mind because I'd always wanted it just to be my mom. It was my way of honoring my mom for raising me. I didn't do it to punish my dad. I didn't do it for anything other than to honor my mother. That's the only reason I made that decision.
Jennifer, my dear, then you shouldn't have told your father at the beginning, Dad, I want you and Mom to walk me down the aisle. You should not have told him that. Because what you're telling me now is, well, I told him that, but then he made these demands on me, which is what you said a moment ago.
It is what I said a moment ago.
Oh, yeah, he made these demands on me, which I now tell you, as a third party, totally unrelated to you, were totally appropriate requests from a person who really knows. Because although my husband and I have made many weddings, we have a mixed family. Mm-hmm. So I understand what you're talking about. You're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong, and you did the wrong thing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said, I'm not
please.
looking forward to walking you down the aisle with your mother. And I said, why? And he goes, because we know how that turned out last time. And I said, Dad, you're not marrying my mother, you're giving me away.
And later today,
I never even knew that we were getting some kind of tax credit check.
I had called Kevin, asked him about it.
And what did he say?
How does he know that I didn't forge his signature?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Arthur Foltz says his daughter Jennifer Foltz owes for money given towards her wedding. Arthur says Jennifer doesn't want him to walk her down the aisle.
Those two things that your father asked to have is a separate table, separate from your mother, and to invite two friends.
He also wanted his own limo. No.
Shh, just a second. Well, tell me about that.
He asked me if I was going to have a limo at the wedding, and I said, no, I don't need one. I'm just going to drive myself to the place, get ready there. Later on that evening, we got together for dinner, my father and I, and he said that he was going to have a limo for him and his friends.
So? He didn't ask you to pay for it, did he?
No, he didn't ask me to pay for it.
So?
But I just thought that was a little, odd. It's my wedding, but he wants to show up in the limo.
Who cares? Who cares if he comes in a bus? Who cares if he comes in a long bus, a short bus? It doesn't make any difference, Jennifer. You're picking on him. You're picking on him, honey. Life's too short.
It just bothers me that I didn't have much of a relationship with him when I was a child, and now he's trying to overtake the wedding and be a bigger part of the wedding than I feel he should be.
Jennifer, you're being a big baby.
I'm not being a big baby.
Yeah, you're being a big baby. And if you have bad feelings about your dad because he wasn't there for you when you were growing up, lots of children of divorce feel that way about their parents, especially when their parents remarry and have second family, right? That they're involved with, that live with them. Their kids feel as if I didn't have the benefit of really a full-time or even a part-time great parent. It's never too late.
I don't feel as if it's too late.
Well, you shouldn't feel as if it's too late. And it's a shame if your father doesn't go to the wedding. It's a shame if you have a wedding that doesn't include your father and his wife and your mother. Are you remarried?
No.
And whoever she wants to bring, if she wants to bring anybody, and everybody else who's part of your life. It's a shame that you don't have that moment. You will, listen to me, you will always regret it. Because, you know why, Jennifer? You'll always look at that book of pictures, and there'll be a bad feeling that he wasn't there.
You know what, though? When I told him that I wanted just my mom to walk him down the aisle, he said to me that I want nothing to do with your wedding. He took himself out of the wedding. I can understand he's hurt. I'm sure he's hurt. But if he doesn't go to my wedding, it's on his terms, not mine.
No, Jennifer, you're wrong. You're being young. You're being young. I disagree with him if what he chooses to do is to not go to the wedding. But I'm telling you, you're not a baby. You're a big girl.
I am a big girl.
And your mother should be a big person. And your mother should say, usually, if one parent walks a child down the aisle, it's usually their father, not their mother, unless their father's dead. And in this case, if you want to be a big person, and you want to be a big person, you say, for that 30 seconds that it takes to walk down the aisle, let's walk our daughter, our firstborn, down the aisle together and give her away, and then there'll be a picture of her family at her wedding. Because, you know, what can happen is 10 years from now, when you and Doug have 2 kids, and you and your father have hopefully reconciled, your children will say to you, "Where's Poppy's picture at your wedding?" And if you have not reconciled, then what you're doing is you're depriving your children of the widest possible community of love and affection.
I wouldn't be the one that would deprive them of that, though. He would be the one that would not make the effort.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Arthur Foltz says his daughter Jennifer Foltz owes for money given towards her wedding. Arthur says Jennifer doesn't want him to walk her down the aisle.
Jennifer, you hurt him.
I know.
You
I
hurt him.
understand that.
You hurt him. He's supposed to be bigger than that. Your mother is supposed to be bigger than that.
I didn't do a thing.
Well, you did, Miss Bean.
Yeah, exactly.
You did, because you said to your daughter, and you acknowledged that you said to your daughter, "I hope he can get over certain things, and I hope he's not going to be hostile." And
In response to his hostility when
What?
she told him that we were going to do it together.
Madam, I'm talking about before you got there. Before you got to the point where she said, "I changed my mind, Dad. Only Mom is walking me down the aisle." Then he got hostile.
He was
Fine.
hostile before I changed my
He
mind.
was hostile from the beginning.
He said, "I'm
Oh,
not looking
please.
forward to walking you down the aisle with your mother." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because we know how that turned out last time." And I said, "Dad, you're not marrying my mother. You're giving me away."
Is that true, sir?
No, ma'am.
I mean, I don't understand how that could be true if he said to you, "I want to pay for half the wedding." In the same conversation, when he said to you, "I want to pay for half the wedding," and you're telling me now that his conversation was hostile?
Yes.
I don't believe you. Listen, Mr. Foltz, I can see I'm not getting anywhere. I've made my best effort, sir. You gave your daughter $3,000 for the wedding. It was a no-strings gift. I hope you go to the wedding. And Jennifer, I think if you want to grow up to be a big person and your mother wants to be the loving mother that she is, you will decide that it's the right thing that both your parents walk you down the aisle. You still have plenty of time to do that and to make up so that you don't end up looking at that wedding album 20 years from now and saying it was really a sad day. Mr. Foltz,
Your Honor.
say nothing. Say nothing. You made your daughter a $3,000 contribution towards her wedding. I hope she does the right thing with it. That's
I do
all.
have things
Case
to say,
over.
Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think we're still both very hurt and angry, and I think that neither one of us really wants to take the step towards mending our relationship.
25 years ago, I tried to make amends to my ex-husband for the trouble that I caused in our divorce.
Her statement that I didn't raise her, and that's, you know, it's very hurtful to me.
25 years is a long time to hold a grudge. But I don't want to see anything between him and my daughter get worse and divide them forever.
My heart tells me that I love her, but I just don't think it's being reciprocated.
You know, my wedding's supposed to be a happy time, and it's turning out to be not quite so happy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Martin. Step forward.
26-year-old insurance sales assistant Karen Martin is suing her ex-husband, home improvement salesman Kevin Martin, for stealing her share of a tax refund. Karen claims Kevin forged her signature on the check.
Miss Martin, the defendant is your former husband. It is your claim that there was a government refund check in the amount of $400 that was issued to both of you. It is your claim that Mr. Martin forged your signature to that check, cashed that check, and you want your $200.
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Martin says there was no check that he received. He did not forge your name to any check, and he, quite frankly, doesn't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So let us assume for a moment that a refund check was sent to Mr. and Mrs. Martin. So your obligation now, Miss Martin, is to establish that he forged your name to that check.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you.
Okay, I do have a copy of the check where it's signed by him, and that is not my signature.
Okay.
I do have other...
Okay, let me see it.
Okay.
Mr. Martin, the Family Service Center, you familiar with that institution?
Yes, I am.
Tell me about that institution, sir.
It's a credit union that we had, as we were married, had an account there.
Are you trying to tell... clearly this check was sent to the two of you, and clearly it was endorsed by two people.
I never
And-
knew anything about the check. I never even knew that we were getting some kind of tax credit check.
How did you find out about the check, Miss Martin?
My cousin had received hers, and she had asked me if I got anything on it, and
These were the checks that were $400 that were issued to families by President Bush, is that right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. It was $400 per child, and she had received hers and asked me if I received mine, and I said, no, I didn't. And I had called Kevin, asked him about it.
And what did he say?
He said, he had still said, I have no idea what you're talking about. How do you, actually he said, how do you know that how does he know that I didn't forge his signature?
So, Mr. Martin, what I'm asking you is that the conversation you had? How do I know you didn't forge my signature? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the answer. The answer is you weren't calling her to complain that you didn't get your $200, right?
I never knew.
Now listen to me.
Okay.
You weren't calling her, Mr. Martin, to complain that you didn't get your $200.
No.
Because according to you, you didn't know about it. So why would she call you to complain? Listen to me. Call you to complain. If she had forged your signature to the check so that she got the entire $400 and you weren't calling her to complain about it, you get my drift, sir?
I understand what you're saying.
Old story. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So somebody from your credit union cashed this... I'm speaking! Somebody from your credit union cashed this check with a signature that I have compared with the signature on your answer and with a signature that I have compared with the signature on Miss Martin's complaint. And while that's not necessarily dispositive of who forged whose signature, the signature on this check, your signature on this check, is eerily similar to your signature on the answer, while her signature on the check is no way similar to her signature on her complaint. So I put those facts together, and you know what I came up with? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all. Step out.
Yes, this is case number 160 on the calendar in the matter of Halsey versus O'Neill Clark.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Halsey, according to your complaint, the defendants assaulted you.
Yes.
At your home.
Yes.
And the defendant says that this was a fight that was precipitated by you. You just got the worst of it. That's your defense.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you chilly?
Yeah.
Are you very chilly?
Yes.
That's because you dressed inappropriately to come to court.
I'm sorry.
So maybe we could find you a sweater or something to put on so you're not so chilly and not so inappropriately clad for court.
I'm very sorry, ma'am.
Good. So you step outside and see if we can find you something to wear. You remember the name Judge Jane Boland?
Oh, yes. Very well.
So let's go see if we can find her a trench coat or something back there, can we?
That's Judge Boland.
See if we can find her something back there, Bert.
I will be right
Very
back.
good. Thank you. I get distracted when I have to watch somebody's navel, except my 3-year-old grandchild.
Okay.
Much more appropriate. Who's Darcy?
I am.
Good. You're Jessica?
Yes.
Miss Halsey, I want you to tell me when this assault took place.
On Friday, January 16th, 2004, it all started at my job. They came in and started harassing me.
The same day?
Yes.
How do you know these two girls?
I was good friends with Darcy for a while, and Jessica went to my school last year. Now she's dating my ex-boyfriend.
Jessica's dating your ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
What happened earlier in the day on the 16th?
I was working, and my cousin Angelica, she came in to visit me at work, and about, I'd say 15 minutes later, they came in with my ex-boyfriend. They just wanted a drink, and they were just starting crap, basically, just asking for the manager, just laughing and making fun of me pretty much.
Oh my God.
I was trying to tell them to leave, so eventually they left, and I went home.
Where were you working at the time?
Taco Bell.
How long had you been working there?
I'd say 2 months.
So the two of them and your ex-boyfriend came in. She's dating your ex-boyfriend. So when you got home, you were really upset. What did you do?
I called his mother and told her to have him not bother me anymore, because I hadn't talked to him or these two girls for about 4 months before all this happened. We just stopped being friends. They said they didn't like me, and I just moved on, and basically they came into my work out of nowhere.
Okay, so you called ex-boyfriend's mother and said, please let him leave you alone.
Yes.
What's the next thing that happened?
I was home for a while, and then I get a phone call from Jessica, just being really immature, saying that they wanted to come over and beat me up, and I didn't understand why, because we hadn't talked in a long time. And
What did she exactly say to you, if you remember?
She kept calling me a and I was like, okay, if I am, that's no reason to come and beat me up. So.
Well, what did she say about beating you up?
She just kept saying, you're going down, basically. She's like, we're coming over, we're gonna beat you up.
Did she say anything about the phone call that you had placed to the ex-boyfriend's mother?
No,
Yes
she
or
didn't.
no?
She handed
No.
the phone to him.
To the ex-boyfriend?
Yes, and he kept saying, never call my house, never call any of my friends ever again.
Okay, so they were together. Three of them were together.
Yes.
All right, what's the next thing that happened?
They call me, telling me they want to meet me at the store across the street from my house, because I kept telling them not to come to my home. And they called me from
What time was this?
I'd say around 9 o'clock.
What time was the first telephone call to your house?
Between 8:30 and 8:45.
And then they called back at 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
Who did you speak to when they called back at 9 o'clock?
Darcy.
What did she say to you?
She said for me not to be such a coward and to show up at Albertsons, that they were going to beat me up. And I was like, whatever, basically just get them off the phone. So then they hung up on me, and about 5 minutes later, they called me from Albertsons, the store across the street from my house, and they said they were there waiting for me, and I was like, I'm not going, I'm not showing up, I don't know what you were thinking. And they hung up before I could even say anything else. And next thing I know, I hear them squealing up my driveway. It was like, by that time it was around 9:15, 9:30.
Now, do you live in a private house, or?
They're condominiums, and they have a gated front door to all of our little complex. But at the time, the lock was broken on the gate.
In the apartment complex where you live, is there a restaurant?
No.
Is there a movie theater?
No, nothing.
Is it a shopping mall?
No.
So there was no other reason for them to be there
Exactly.
but to see either you or someone else at the complex?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anyone else who lives in her apartment complex?
Just them, the Halseys.
Do you know anyone else who lives in the apartment complex?
No, just them.
So it's a fair statement that the two of you drove there in order to see her.
She called us up there.
That's not what I asked you. It's a fair statement that you drove to her house to see her, right?
After she called me, yes, and told me to come up there.
I never invited them to my home.
Just a second. I'm going to say it one more time. It's a fair statement that you drove to her house to see her.
Yes,
Who was driving?
I am. I have my own truck.
How wonderful for you. Yeah. What happened when they got there?
When they got there, I had about 5 friends over at my house. So I told everyone to stay in the house, and my cousin Angelica follows me out there. And the gate was broken, and I saw Darcy and my ex-boyfriend stumbling towards the gate. Obviously, they were drunk.
Don't tell me what they obviously.
Okay, well, then they started stumbling towards the gate, and I was out there to meet them at the gate to tell them. I kept telling them, go home, this is not happening at my house, leave. I said it, I screamed it so many times. And then Darcy walks in the gate and pushes me really hard, and by the time I get up and see what was going on, she starts pounding on her in the face. And I turned to Darcy to try to pull her off of Angelica, and she turns towards me and starts pounding me in the face really bad. I have pictures of, she broke my nose, I have medical bills, I had to go to the hospital for 4
Can I see
hours.
them, please?
Yes. On my medical
Do you have a police report?
We did make one, but we couldn't, our original case was filed at the Vista Courthouse, and we couldn't get it to come here.
Has anyone from the police department spoken to you?
They called us like a couple months after all this happened. He called and said he'd get back to us later. And he never did.
didn't. Must have lots of fights there. How old are you?
I'm 18.
How old are you?
18.
I want to explain several things to you before we go any further. It is possible that the police will file charges against you for assault. Did you sign a complaint?
Oh yeah, I pressed charges.
Who are you?
I'm her mother.
That's my mother.
Could you step up here for a second?
Yes.
Miss Halsey?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Halsey, I don't want to proceed with this case. I mean, clearly I don't want to place these two women in jeopardy by having them testify if they're going to have a criminal proceeding brought against them. Do you intend to pursue this matter criminally?
I wanted to.
If that's the case, then I'm not going to proceed with this case. If you're prepared to let this matter be resolved civilly, I'm prepared to do that. Do you understand?
I understand, yes.
Well, you have to tell me what you want to do. You want to confer with your daughter?
Actually, we really need the medical bills covered. We would really like this just to be settled and done and over with.
So is what you're telling me that you do not intend to pursue the assault charge based upon the events of the 16th of January?
If it means that we can't go through with this, then we won't.
All right. Now, you have to understand that the police are not necessarily bound by their statement that they don't wish to press charges. And the police could still arrest you. You understand that?
Okay.
And that any testimony that you give here today could be used at a trial against you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, do you want to proceed with this today?
Yeah, we'll go on.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you not following what I'm saying? You're 18 years old. Did you graduate from high school?
Not yet. I'm still in school, actually.
Well, I would suggest that you stay in school for a little longer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Halsey says her former friends Darcy O'Neill and Jessica Clark came to her home and attacked her. Amy says they broke her nose and gave her a concussion.
Okay. You can continue.
She started hitting me, and then I fell to the ground. She was kicking me in the ribs, pounding my head into
That's Darcy.
Yes, Darcy was pounding my head into the wall by holding my hair. And then I got my footing, and I noticed she started to pound on Angelica's face again, and she was hitting her really hard, so I tried pulling her off again, and my ex-boyfriend was holding me back, and while Darcy was hitting me, he was holding her back from helping. And then I see Jessica walking in towards the gate, so I shoved her towards the truck so she'd get back in, because she was also stumbling. So I'm like, you need to stay out of this. This has nothing to do with you. So she didn't get back in the truck. She just started pounding on the side of my head, and she tripped me, and I fell into a bush, and I got up and just started running. I just ran all the way around my complex to my back door, and I was screaming for someone to call 911, and by the time I got back into my house, Angelica had ran inside and started calling the cops.
Did you see either of the two of them after you ran back into the house?
Well, I had stopped when I was about to turn the corner, and I saw Jessica just laughing and turning around, walking back to the truck.
All right, Darcy, why don't you tell me your version of the events of the 16th?
Okay, on January 16th, we were on our way over to our friend's house, and we stopped to get something to drink. Amy was behind the counter when we got in there, and she was talking to Shane about getting some of her personal items back from him. He told her to leave him alone, whatever. We started walking out the door. She went back to her behind the counter, yelled some words at her, pretty much.
Thank you.
And then we left there. A little while later, we got phone calls from her and her friends harassing us.
That's not true. I never called.
I don't want you to speak. Darcy, before you go any further, are you going to try to tell me that neither you, Jessica, or the ex-boyfriend knew that she worked at that Taco Bell?
We knew she worked there.
That's all I... Just a second. That's all I wanted to know. So you knew she worked there?
Yes.
Keep going.
After that, we got phone calls throughout the day, them harassing us, telling them that they wanted us to come, you know.
Who's them?
Her and her friends from Wisconsin, all of them. They were yelling on our phones, death threats, them harassing us on the phone.
Not true.
Shh. Did you hear what I said? Jessica, after the incident at Taco Bell, where did you go?
We went to our friend's house that lives...
Who was there?
Me, myself, Darcy, my boyfriend, and my friend that we went to the house.
Your boyfriend's name is Shane, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did Shane's mother tell him that this young lady had called the house?
I have no idea. I had no...
When did Shane tell you?
He didn't tell me. It's not my business. I didn't know.
You didn't know what?
I didn't know that she had called his mom. I really didn't even...
Did you see his mother after this incident?
No.
You've never seen his mother after this incident?
I've seen her after this incident,
That's what I wanted to know.
Thought
you've seen his mother after the incident, is that right?
Months after.
Don't play with me.
Well, yes,
Don't listen to me. Don't play with me. Because it's very easy. I can call her on the phone. Do you understand?
That's fine. I have...
When you saw his mother afterwards, did she tell you that Amy had called her on the 16th?
No, she did not.
Did she ever tell you that Amy had called her on the 16th?
No, she did not.
Did your boyfriend, Shane, ever tell you that Amy had called her on the 16th?
No, he did not.
And you spoke to his mother, is that
Yes.
right? Oh, okay. Give me his mother's name and phone number.
Linda is her name. I don't know her last name or her phone number. I don't call her. It's
What's
my
her phone-
boyfriend.
what's
I don't
her
have
phone
any.
number?
It's in my cell phone. Oh, I don't have my purse.
Her last name is...
You have her cell phone number?
Yes, but it's in my purse.
Go get it. Now, you would say that that would be a very important piece of information, wouldn't you? If she had I'm speaking. If she had called your boyfriend's mother that day and said, listen, please have them leave me alone, that would have been important, right?
Excuse me, can I
asked you a question. Would that be important to me in demonstrating that all she wanted you to do was leave her alone?
If I had been calling her.
Listen to me. If she had called your boyfriend's mother and said, please have Shane and his friends leave me alone, I don't want any trouble, that would be an important thing, don't you think? Important piece of information for me. And I assume that you support Miss Darcy's statements that she called you and threatened you all day. So it would be important if, after you were where you knew she worked, if she picked up the phone and called your boyfriend's mother and said, please have them leave me alone. I mean, are you not following what I'm saying? You're 18 years old. Did you graduate from high school?
Not yet. I'm still in school, actually.
Well, I would suggest that you stay in school for a little longer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Halsey claims former friends Darcy O'Neill and Jessica Clark owe for an assault. Amy claims the young women came to her home and attacked her.
Let me tell you about liars. Shh. I hate liars. And I hate liars who swear to tell the truth and then lie. Because one of the things that I'm really good at is ferreting out the truth. So, Miss Jessica and Miss Darcy, let me tell you what Miss told me, because she was totally unaware of why I was calling her. She told me she absolutely spoke with Amy and her mother on the 16th of January, that Amy called her hysterical because she said that her son and the two of you had gone into Taco Bell and reduced her to tears. And that she was asking, she and her mother were asking Shane's mother to please prevail upon her son and you to leave her alone. Does that come as a surprise to you?
To me, yeah.
Oh, really? Then Shane's mother is a liar? Is that what you're telling me? Because Shane's mother said that she finally got to talk to you, Darcy, that evening. To you. To you. Missy. And to her son. And that to best of her recollection, she managed to reach her son on your cell phone. Miss Jessica?
She talked to him.
I'm speaking. I suckered you into this long before I spoke to his mother. You are two big, lying bullies. And you went over to her house and you beat her up. And I don't believe a word that you say in your answer here, which is, she threatened us. She demanded that we come to her house. We drove to her house. She instigated the fight. No, no, no. You were annoyed, the two of you, because she and her mother had called Shane's mother and asked for her help. His mother said, what I wanted to do was to get Shane's side of the story. Well, unfortunately, she got Shane's side of the story, which she believes.
Excuse me?
I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
You are dishonest and dumb and bullies. And you're going to pay for all of her medical bills and all of her pain and suffering, because all you have to do is lie to me once, which you did. And I don't have to hear another word out of your lying mouths. You're bullies. I don't know what's going to become of you. All I can suggest is that you stay in school, because you don't know how to dress when you come to court. So suggests to me that you have no sense of decorum. You are a liar, which suggests to me that you have to go back to moral school. You're hanging around with her, who's just a big bully and throws her weight around, clearly, in attacking her.
You don't even...
What? Don't go there. Your nose was broken?
Yes. Concussion, bruised ribs.
What I don't understand is, quite frankly, how the police could not pursue this matter.
That's what I don't understand.
And at least give both of these girls a record for assault. They may not go to jail.
That's what I want.
But it's outrageous to me that with just one phone call that I was able to make today, that the police department chose to believe this cock and bull story that these two girls told them. It's an outrage to me.
Thank you.
What do you do, Darcy?
What do I do?
For a living.
I'm an assistant manager at the Ranch Deli.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Out.
Thank you. Matter of Stevenson versus Conti. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Stevenson, this is your son. Your son's name is Joseph?
Yes.
Miss Conti, this is your son, and his name is Joey.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your son, Joey, along with several friends, these two people among them?
They were there with us.
Yeah.
They egged Mrs. Stevenson's house and car. Ms. Stevenson says that in addition to doing damage to her home and her car, when you were advised about it, you said that you would take care of whatever damage was caused by your son and his friends, and then didn't do it. So she's suing you for the cost of cleaning up the house and car. Is that right?
3 cars.
3 cars.
And a garage.
And I assume you have photographs of the damage?
Yes, I do, and I also have a videotape, too, that shows everything.
Of what?
Of the defendant and his friends egging the house.
Can I see the tape
Sure you
before
can.
we even start? You know, picture's worth 1,000 words. Let's take a look. Mr. Conti, young Mr. Conti over here, he doesn't deny that he was there.
No.
And even threw an egg or two. Is that right, Mr. Conti?
Yes, Your Honor, I threw one, but it hit my own car, actually.
Well, that was...
It was so long ago, I just know it didn't hit anything.
Joey, say nothing else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's on 3 times. That's the first card. This is the second one. It does a repeat and then it has highlights. The first car is his 2 witnesses were in that car.
Why did you become involved in this vandalism, Joey?
Well, it was an ongoing game between me and Joe, I guess, because he had done this to our house before in the past, and also like on Halloween. I've seen him egg people before out of his car.
When was that?
About a couple months before.
Now, when Joseph egged your house, did you report it to the police?
No. We don't have video cameras, and we didn't have proof. We don't have...
What do you mean? Just a second. If you didn't have proof, then how do you know he did it?
Because I came outside while they were doing it, and I saw him drive up the street, and my father followed him.
Just a second. That's proof.
Your Honor,
You don't need a video camera.
Your Honor, we just went out. We hosed our garage. We hosed the car. Everything came off. We chalked it up to harmless pranks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't make a big issue out of it.
Fine. You didn't see him throw an egg at your house, did you?
That's correct.
Right. And since I don't believe him, that he threw one egg that came back and hit him in the face, I don't believe him either.
I threw it over, I was driving and I just threw it like this, and I couldn't even make it to the house. It was pretty far away.
I don't care.
Okay.
If you tell the truth all the time, you don't have to have a good memory.
I'm just
Did anybody ever say that to you?
Yes.
Do you understand what it means?
Yes.
Good. So you and your friends are sitting around whose house when you decide to go on this egg spree?
My friend Darren's house.
Where is Darren?
He lives just up the street from
Not
Joe.
one of these 2 people.
No, he's not here. He didn't come today because...
I don't care why he didn't come. He didn't come today because he was pregnant. I don't care.
Okay.
You are sitting around Darren's house. How many people are sitting around Darren's house?
There is about 6 of us.
And how many of you have cars?
2 of us.
And how many cars were loaded up to go over to his house?
2. And we only had 4 eggs with us.
I don't believe you!
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have photographs of the house?
I have it of the cars in the garage.
I'll take a look at those.
And I have estimates.
No, I just want to look at the photographs.
Your Honor, we have witnesses here also who can attest
Which
to
witnesses?
the 4 eggs.
These 2 idiots?
The gentleman here.
These 2 idiots? I'm not interested to hear what they have to say yet. Would you ask her to show me where on this car she's pointing to as a damage? I mean, I'm looking at 2 spots on your garage.
You see the egg on the garage,
Here
yes.
and here.
Now, The black car with the spots on it, that's the rear end of the Yukon. The other cars were repaired. I'm just showing you the cars repaired.
I don't see $2,000 worth of damage, madam. I'm just telling you.
Oh, well,
I'm telling you, I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. Listen to me carefully.
Okay.
I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. I'm not excusing him. I'm not finished with him yet, as a matter of fact. But I'm not seeing $2,000 worth of damage. Now, let's get back to you. Put your papers down.
Sorry.
What you are complaining about, and I assume your mother is complaining about, is why you are being singled out to pay for this damage rather than going after all of the other boys.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to explain that to you.
Okay.
When you commit a crime, you're not entitled to be treated like everybody else who commits the same crime. Let me give you an example. I'm going to go back into my history. And Officer Petrie Hawkins Bird here is going to affirm what I've said because I know he's a truthful person. When I was a judge in the family court and I would get teenagers who committed crimes, much more serious ones than this, although this is annoying, and very often there would be a group of boys who would commit a robbery. And because of the way the law is written, sometimes the cases were assigned to a different judge. One judge would try one of the boys, another judge would try the second boy, another judge would try the first boy. And every time one of the boys got me, they would say, "That's not fair. I want somebody else. I want his judge."
Understand.
And I would say, "You got the luck of the draw. You got me. It doesn't have to be equal. Everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. But that doesn't mean that you have to be treated equally."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She is very, very Sue happy.
Maybe she came after you because you did something wrong.
Yeah, and we did do something. Sorry.
And later today.
Her father didn't approve of you.
Yeah.
Like what?
Got arrested.
For what?
Selling weed.
Selling weed?
Yeah.
You mean selling drugs?
That's right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deneen Stevenson says 18-year-old Joey Conti egged her house and car. Joey says he wasn't the only one.
She picked you.
Okay.
And she picked you maybe because she doesn't like the color of your eyes. Quiet. I'm making a point here. She picked you. She says, "I don't want to have to go out and hunt down his mother and his mother and his mother and go to court 4 different times. I want you to pay for all the damage that was caused to my house."
I think one of the reasons she picked me, Your Honor, is because she is very, very Sue happy. And we have evidence of her and her past, even from her own family members that have moved away just to get away from her. And she's been involved with some of the other kids before, so I think she came after me because I don't really know her.
Maybe she came after you because you did something wrong.
Yeah, and we did do something. Sorry, we did do something wrong, and
What difference does it?
We admit it.
What do you want?
Your Honor, he admitted it from the very start when the police called him.
Then why did you go and get this whole list of other people she sued?
Because the damage does not warrant
I don't care about that, sir. I don't care if she sued everybody from A to M in the phone book. Do you understand? That's her prerogative. And she wouldn't have sued you if you didn't do something wrong.
Yes, sir.
You want to be treated like these boys. According to you, she accepted their apology and they...
No.
No, just a second. According to you, and I'm going to read what you said in your answer. She said...
Your Honor, she asked...
I'm speaking. She even knows the driver of the second car whose apologies she accepted.
His parents came to my house.
Just a second.
Okay.
Do I look like I need your help?
No.
She can accept everybody's apology but yours. Maybe she doesn't like people with hazel eyes.
We tried to apologize, Your Honor, and she said my mom went to go apologize, and we got the whole team ready to go apologize, and I was ready, and I wrote a letter and everything to go apologize to her. And the day we were going to go apologize, my mother called her and she said, "Oh, that won't be necessary. We're going to sue you now." So this is what happened.
Just a second. How much after this incident were you going to apologize?
Oh, within the week. Within the week.
Just a second. What about the next day?
Your Honor, I didn't
I'm
find...
speaking. Not you. Him.
That-
Why didn't you go the next day?
Because we just didn't.
What do you mean, because you just didn't?
We had to get everyone together.
What do you mean, because you just didn't?
Because I wanted to get everybody together. Because I was basically the only one that admitted to doing this.
Just a minute. When did you contact the police?
The very day, that same day.
When did the police contact you?
A couple weeks after.
Not before?
No.
Did you tell him that you had contacted the police?
Yes, I confronted him in school.
When?
Like, after I realized it was his car when we watched the tape at night, so the following school day.
Step up here. You're Joseph.
Yes.
You told him the following day that you had contacted the police, or the following school day?
Yes, the following school day.
And then you just wanted to get everybody together before you went to apologize. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
But he had already told you that he had contacted the police.
Yes.
Right. You get it.
And that day I got everybody together. And we were my mom called, and we were ready to go apologize. And she
Would you have been
wouldn't see
ready to go over and apologize if they hadn't called the police?
us. Yes. I would have apologized.
What catharsis did you have between the time that you egged his property and the time that you were prepared to apologize?
After he came up to me at school.
And told you that the police had been called?
He didn't tell me the police had been called that. No, he didn't tell me the police had been
What
called.
did he say?
He just said, he came up to me with a bunch of his friends, like they were trying to, they came up to me, like, aggressively. And they were like, well, did you do this? And I'm like, yes. And then that's all. They never said the police had been called. They just walked away after that.
Well, why would you want to apologize after that, Joey?
Because they were so angry about it.
You owe for the damage to their property. It's not $2,000. Get over it. It's not going to happen. Do I make myself clear?
I have my estimates right here.
I
for
don't
the
care.
cars
You
that
can
were
take the
repaired.
estimates and wallpaper with them. I see what your pictures show.
No, those after.
Then
after it's painted.
that is your problem. I already told you that you can take the estimates and you can wallpaper your bathroom with them. I've looked at the photographs and I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. You're not going to retire on this incident. It's ridiculous because you're a smart lady.
I don't need to retire on
I'm
it.
speaking. What he did was bad enough. When you exaggerate it and don't tell the truth, you're no better off than he is.
I'm not exaggerating.
You are exaggerating, madam, because anybody who calls the police because they have $2,000 worth of damage to their house and they call the police the same day, take pictures. They take pictures if they intend to pursue it, because if the police came, I'm speaking.
Okay.
And if the police came and took pictures, then you would have them. And if the police didn't take pictures, then you make sure that you have them in order to preserve whatever rights you want to have in a lawsuit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My son is never out on Halloween because we're home as a family handing out candy.
I guess it's over now since they take things very, very serious.
Oh, through the school year, she was a troublemaking mom.
I had offered Mrs. Stevenson $500 to just forget the whole thing because she made my life a living hell.
Why am I upset? Because they're liars.
She refused it. She said she couldn't accept that. So I just told her, do what you have to do then.
The kids did the damage. They don't have to pay for it. But there'll be another time.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Forzetting versus Hannah. Step forward.
Construction worker Tony Forzetting is suing his son's ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old food server Nikki Hanna, for unpaid rent and utility bills. Tony says when Nikki's father kicked her out, he let her move in.
Is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the one who was in jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Forzetting, this young lady was this young man's girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you?
18.
And for some bizarre reason, you made the foolish error of allowing her to move into your house because she and your son were boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
Correct.
And at this point, you say she owes you for rent and other expenses that she was supposed to pay for the 4 months that she was living with you. That's
Yes,
what the
ma'am.
case is about. How old are you?
20.
And your name?
Stephen Forzetting.
Stephen, how old was Miss Hannah when you met her?
16.
And how old was she when she moved into your house?
18.
Why?
Because her and her dad got into it and he threw her out.
What?
Because her and her father got into it and he threw her out.
Got into it.
Yeah,
What did they get into it about?
about me.
Her father didn't approve of you?
Yeah.
Did he have reason not to approve of you?
Yeah, because I was not being that great.
Like what?
Got arrested.
For what?
Selling weed.
What?
Selling weed.
You mean selling drugs?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times were you arrested for selling drugs?
Just once.
So that's why her father didn't like you?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was 2003, Christmas Eve. It was her birthday also. She got in a big fight with her dad. Her dad's thrown her out several times. I guess she didn't want to follow his rules. She was still going to school at the time. She was in her senior year. I have a daughter that's 17 at the time. I didn't want to see her on the streets.
Good. Sounds very nice. And she was going to school. Is she a full-time student in high school?
Yes, she was.
How did you expect her to pay you rent?
Well, I didn't ask her to pay me rent right away, Your Honor, when she first moved in. I told her when she got in, got a part-time job. Those would be the rules in my house to stay in school.
Did she get a part-time job?
She did, yeah.
When?
2 weeks down the road. I would say within a month and a half.
So sometime in February?
Yes, Your Honor.
So in February, did you ask her for any money?
I said, Nikki, you got a job. We had an agreement when you moved in. I'm not pressuring you. She indicated to me that she wasn't making that much. I said, that's fine. It's only a part-time job. Just give us what you can until you can get caught up or you know, down the road. And...
So, did she ever give you any money?
No, Your Honor.
So what are you suing her now for?
Well, come April 24th, we had the conversation again about paying rent. This time we approached it with an agreement. We had words.
At this time, was your son in the house?
No, he was not.
He was in jail?
Yes, he was.
So after your son was taken to jail, that's when you went and approached her about signing an agreement?
No, the agreement was signed several months down the road.
Oh, show it to me.
I have the agreement right here.
Can I see it,
It
please?
wasn't written until the 24th, which is when I moved out.
I'm talking about, sir, I'm not talking about the agreement that you wanted her to sign in April. You said that she signed one before?
No, she did not. It was
Of
all
course.
verbal before, Your Honor.
Verbal, you had no contract with us,
No
sir.
contract, all
no
verbal.
contract. You didn't have a verbal contract with us, sir. Your agreement was when you get a job, you'll start paying us something. And then when she got a job, a couple of months later, you said take care of your own bills first and then pay us what you can. Well, she couldn't pay anything. That's not a contract. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Now, you took her in, and you took her in because her father threw her out because of your son. When she came into your house, did they share a room?
Sure did, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. Don't open your house to strangers, sir. It's a bad idea. Your case...
This is case number 126 on the calendar in the matter of Rubel versus Ober.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Miss Rubel, Miss Ober is your ex-boyfriend's mother.
Yes.
And there came a time in 2006, I believe, that you had difficulty at home.
Yes.
And you went to live with Miss Ober.
Yes, Your Honor.
And during that time, you allowed Miss Ober to open up utility accounts in your name.
It was actually when I was at school at Eastern Kentucky University when I allowed her to open gas and electric in my name.
When you were at school, you were not living with her?
No.
So you had already spent time in her house?
Yes.
So you had spent about a year in her house?
No, it was about 3 months.
That's not true.
How long was it?
She moved in February of 2006. Remainder of her senior year of high school, stayed the whole summer at my house.
Okay.
Also went to EKU, and I picked her up every weekend, every Friday.
But it was while you were at school that she opened the accounts with your permission in your name. Put that folder down, please. And it is your claim that two things. A, that she didn't pay those bills. And second, that she also opened up a cable account using your name, and that you did not give her permission to open.
No, I did not.
And that there is an outstanding bill on that. You
Yes.
wanted to take care of all the bills.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that's not true. Again, that's not true.
Just a second. Ms. Ober says, well, she had your permission to open the account. She didn't think that it was a big deal to open up the cable account, and she's counterclaiming because she says you should pay her for all the money she expended while you were living with her on you. So, Ms. Ober, I'm going to deal with that first. You had no contract with Miss Rubel when she moved in that she was going to compensate you for any money that you gave her. There's no indication in your counterclaim. So in order to have a contract, you have to have an agreement. And you had no agreement with her.
We had a verbal agreement.
No, you didn't. That's absolutely not true. If you had a verbal agreement, you would have said so in your answer. And you would have said so in your counterclaim, that you had an agreement that when she graduated from college or whatever, she was going to pay you back for all the money you laid out for her. You don't mention that at all. You want me to read you what you say?
No. At the end of it, I said she agreed to pay back in payment. I do believe, I thought.
you say, the plaintiff stayed in my home from February 2006 until February of 07. That is not true. That is not true.
She was away at college for 3 months and then moved back into my home. I moved her to college and moved her back home from college to my home.
Was she living with you continuously from February 2006 until February 2007?
No, ma'am.
Okay. She moved into your home because she was staying with her aunt and they had a big fight. Even though Tiffany and her aunt later made up, Tiffany begged and pleaded for me to let her stay with me. I took her to and from school. I moved her down to Kentucky to go to college. I gave her lunch money, paid for her prom dress. Even though my son was a freshman, it was her senior prom. I paid for basically everything. So there was no agreement, because if there was an agreement, you had plenty of paper there to say there was an agreement. So you can't make an agreement where there was none. Now, you want to tell me why you opened up utility accounts in her name?
I have the letter that she took to the CG&E company where she opened it up from the landlord.
Why? Why didn't you open it up?
Because I had outstanding bills that couldn't be paid at that point in time. I didn't have the money. I have 3 children and was getting no child support. My ex-boyfriend and I were arguing. It was a bad environment for her, myself, and my children.
Yes.
We had to get out. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Had to get out.
Well, just tell me what she said to you and what you said to her.
I got into an argument with my ex-boyfriend. I was crying. There was chaos. The house was tore up from fighting and carrying on, and she came to me crying and said that we could move out of here. I said, I can't get the electric in my name or the cable because I have an outstanding bill. I was working on paying them. I have paid them off. Everything is in my name.
Well, what about the bills that she's getting now, Miss Ober?
Because she agreed to pay them when we moved out.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't, Miss Ober. I don't even have to ask her that. She said, I'll help you out. If you can't put them in your name, put them in my name.
That's also not true. I didn't offer. She asked me.
That's not true.
Why didn't you pay the bills?
Because I was paying all the bills. I paid the rent, I paid the food, I paid for her clothes, I paid for her to go to a Bengals-Steelers game, I paid for everything under the sun for her. And when I couldn't pay for her to do the things that she wanted to do, go shopping and do all the other things,
well, just
then she moved out.
Miss Ober, when she was living with you, where was she working?
At Photolab at Kroger's, and then she got a job at a restaurant.
When she was living with you, she was working at Photolab?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
No, actually it's not. I was working in the Village of Addison in the clerk's office.
I didn't understand a word you just said.
In the Village of Addison for the clerk.
And what were you doing with the money that you were earning?
I paid for a lot of prom, too.
You paid for a lot of prom. What else did you pay for?
I paid for lunch sometimes, and that's probably about it.
And what about the ex-boyfriend? What does he do?
He's in high school.
16 years old.
Okay. Very good. Can I see the bills, please?
Yes.
And when you moved in with Miss Ober, you were in high school?
Yes. Here's everything.
I would like to also say something. Her aunt, when she moved out of her house, received child support from her mother and father for her while she lived in my home.
You should have sued her aunt.
And Tiffany is still on a Medicaid card through Ohio and is not living in Ohio. She lives in Indiana. She works at the BP in Indiana.
Miss Ober, first of all, the second part was vicious. First part of what you just told me was really your fault. If she was living with you and you were supporting her and somebody else was getting support for her from her parents, you should have marched right into family court and said the support should come to me, not to somebody else.
Well, I'm not going to fight a year and a half to get money that is not going to come to me anyway.
But this money is money that you owe. You owe money for the utilities.
No, she was living in my home. She agreed to pay them.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe for a second that she agreed to pay them. If she agreed to pay them, she wouldn't have let them build up like this.
It was 2 months of service.
Right. I know that you're accustomed to not paying your bills, but somebody who's just starting out in life is not accustomed to not paying their bills. You know you didn't pay your bills. That's why you couldn't put the utilities on in your name.
Because I had an ex-boyfriend who wouldn't let me get ahead.
Listen to me. It's always somebody else's fault. Is that what you're saying to me?
No, I'm not.
It's the ex-boyfriend's fault. It's her fault. It's the aunt's fault.
No, I tried to contact her aunt to take her back home. She wouldn't talk to me.
It's always somebody else's fault. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
You're a victim. Well, you'll always be a victim.
I'm a victim of a 19-year-old.
You'll always be a victim. The answer is you didn't pay your bills. Not that your ex-boyfriend didn't let you get ahead. If you're a big enough girl to make 3 children, that's what you have, right? Mm-hmm. Then you're big enough to get away from an ex-boyfriend who wouldn't let you get ahead. Not soon enough to pay your bills.
You know, I took her in the kindness of my heart. You know, and then after she moved out, her other aunt said to me, Tiffany goes wherever Tiffany's going to reap the benefit.
So whose fault was that?
I guess mine, and it'll never happen again.
Right. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $886. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was 18 years old, and I helped her, and she agreed to pay the bills and didn't.
I got the money back that I deserved.
She was out on the street basically with nowhere to live because her aunt chose not to let her come back home.
I did move back home actually in June of 2006, and I stayed there until I went to college.
Never again will I let someone come into my home.
I trusted her and she lied.
Not again. I won't trust anyone.
I'm not really selfish.
I won't do anything for anybody anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Browning versus Cranford, step forward.
Brack and Marla Browning are suing their son's former friend, David Cranford Jr., for crashing their motorcycle after Brack asked him not to ride it. David insists he was given permission to take the bike.
Miss Browning, were you there during this incident?
No, I was at work.
So you don't know anything other than what your husband told you,
Well,
is that
David
right?
called me.
Why don't you have a seat? Okay. According to your complaint, Mr. Browning, Mr. Cranford, who is a friend of your son's, took your motorcycle. Your son was with him that day and rode it and crashed it. And you
Yes,
want him
ma'am.
to pay to fix it.
Yes, ma'am.
That seems like a relatively simple case. However, Mr. Cranford seems to feel as if it's everybody else's fault. So he's going to tell me about it. On what date did this happen?
It happened November 13th, I believe.
And where were you?
I was down the street from my home working.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for the Red Cross, but on this day, I was helping a friend of mine,
Doing what?
clearing brush, working on the farm.
And where was your son?
He was at David's house.
And he had gotten to David's house on the motorcycle.
Yes, that's what I
Is
understand.
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up next to you for. So tell me what happened on that day, Mr. Browning.
The boys came over to where I was working and asked if they could ride the motorcycle, and I told them no.
Who's they?
My son and David.
Well, your son was already riding the motorcycle.
I wasn't aware of that at the time. I was working down the street. They came and asked if David could ride the bike.
That's
And
David.
This is David. I told him no, that there was no insurance on the bike.
Why wasn't there insurance on the bike?
It had just lapsed a week earlier. It was late October. In our part of the country, it's very cold in the wintertime. We normally don't ride in the wintertime, so
So you don't have to pay for it during the wintertime.
yes, ma'am.
How did you get to David's house?
I had rode the bike down. At the time, we lived not too far from where he lived.
Did you have permission to take the bike out?
Yeah.
Who gave you permission to take the bike out?
Nobody. Normally, I just get on it and go.
Mr. Browning, had you told your son that the insurance lapsed on the bike?
No, ma'am. It had just lapsed a week before, and I didn't think I had to.
Well, you had to because he was using the bike.
Yes, ma'am.
So when they came and asked if David could ride the bike, you said no.
I said no.
And then what happened?
I went back to work. The boys were up at the street. Where I was working was several hundred yards off the
Well,
street.
then I assume you said it has no insurance on it. So what did your son say to you when you said it has no insurance?
At the time, it was David that came up and asked me.
I thought you said the boys came up.
They had called just a couple minutes earlier. They were right down the street. Frank asked me if David could ride the bike. I said no.
Just a second. Mr. Browning, we can't make things up as we go along, sir.
No,
The
ma'am.
first story that, yeah, I know you're very polite, and that's very nice, but the first thing you told me was you were working clearing brush. The boys came up and asked you if David could ride the bike, and you said no because it has no insurance. Now you're changing that story. Now you want to tell me what the story is you're going to tell me now.
Frank had called me about 5 minutes earlier that they were down the street and that David wanted to ride the bike. I said no, and I think David talked him into coming down to where I was working to ask again.
Well, don't tell me what you think.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, who came up to where you were working?
Mr. Cranford.
Only.
Frank was there, but
That's what I want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Frank was there. How did they get there?
David rode the motorcycle. Frank was following him in David's car.
So when you saw him, he was already on the motorcycle.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you say?
I told them they shouldn't be riding the bike
Why?
because there was no insurance. David didn't have a motorcycle license, for one thing.
Did you tell your son that there was no insurance on the bike?
I believe I did. I was
Is
speaking.
that right, sir?
He may have.
I was speaking to Mr. Cranford at the time.
Well, it would seem to me if you saw that the bike was out, Mr. Browning, and if it had no insurance on it, and the reason you let the insurance lapse was because you were coming into the winter months, you would have said to your son, put that bike away immediately because there's no insurance on it, unless you were allowing him to ride it without insurance.
No, ma'am. They, being teenagers, even though Mr. Cranford's 27, he acts 17 like my son, and they argued with me. And I got upset that they wouldn't take no for an answer and went back to work. I wasn't going to stand there and argue with them.
Who was arguing?
Both of them were wanting to ride the bike.
What did your son say to you?
I don't recall, other
Do you
than they
recall?
were not taking no for an answer.
Do you recall?
I argued with him a little bit over the phone, and when he said no, we hung up the phone, and I told David what he said, and David said, well, let's ride across the street and I'll ask him.
And when David said, let's ride across the street, did he get on the bike?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mr. Cranford, you knew you had no permission to get on the bike.
Partially, yes, ma'am.
What do you mean partially? There's no partially. It's like being a little bit pregnant, sir. Either you have permission or you don't have permission.
Well, I didn't know I was a definite no yet. I thought it was
no. What does it mean? No. I want to tell you something. You better stay away from girls, sir. No means no. There's no halfway no. No means no.
Yes,
now, if you're saying to me, I thought I could change his mind.
That's what I was thinking.
Then you don't ride the bike there.
It was right across the street.
I don't care if it was right around the street. I don't care if it was from here to here. You didn't have permission to get on his bike.
Yes, ma'am.
And you crashed the bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how that happened, David.
I was traveling down 71, and it's
but
a
you
mountain.
had no permission to do that.
Well, at the time, Frankie come up at my house, and I had to go.
You already knew the word was no. Then you went up to change his mind. And what happened when you went up to change his mind?
From my understanding, when I was standing there, Your Honor, I didn't get a definite yes or no. It was just more like a I don't care kind of attitude. Is what
he already told you no.
He didn't come right out to me and say absolutely no. He was just giving excuses of why not, you know, and why
the answer. I was hoping he'd be as dumb in person as he was in his answer.
He's not disappointing you.
He's not disappointing me. Let's get to riding the bike and how this incident happened that rendered Mr. Browning's bike $5,000 in damage.
Like I said, I was coming down the mountain, and there's some twisty turns on it, and some of the people that drive, the local people that drive around through there, they travel really fast up through there, and a car was coming around the corner that I was approaching, and it came off into my lane, and I had to swerve to the right to avoid hitting a head-on collision and killing myself. And when I did, it's a crotch rocket motorcycle, and when it hit the grass, the wheel just turned, yanked on me, and it started flipping, and I rolled down the road about 55 miles an hour. Flipping down the road.
You were flipping down the road 55 miles an hour? You
Yes,
must
ma'am.
have been going very fast, Mr. Cranford.
Well, the speed limit was 55.
Do you have a license to drive a motorcycle?
No, ma'am. I've got a driver's license, but not a...
Do you
I
need
didn't
a
realize I had to have a motorcycle license to drive. I figured it was just like a driver's license. I didn't even know at the time.
Well, how many times have you driven a motorcycle?
I've driven it a few times back when I was younger, but...
But a what?
I haven't recently.
Well, if you don't drive a motorcycle for a long time and you don't have any special training, it would seem to me that despite the fact that the speed limit is 55 miles an hour, I would not, if I were prudent. Do you know what that means?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were prudent, I wouldn't go on a twisty, windy road where everybody goes very fast, because that's what you said, that you knew about this road that you were on, because you come from the area, so you know that everybody goes very fast. I wouldn't take a motorcycle that I had no experience with and drive on a dangerous road and go 55 miles an hour. Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
I got it. But I want to tell you something. You're going to have this bike fixed? Do you have the estimate to fix it?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the estimate to fix it?
Estimate comes to over $7,000.
I wouldn't let your son drive it again. For a while. Because he is complicit in this, despite the fact that he's 17 years old. And you are how old?
27.
Because he didn't have to let him ride it.
I feel like he was influenced by the older kid.
Well, Mr. Browning, that may be. But if you let him ride the motorcycle again and let him have it back, he hasn't learned anything from it.
I agree.
And if you're going to entrust what could be a weapon to a child's hand, you have to assume the consequences.
Well, my son's been through a motorcycle safety course. I sent him through that before he ever
doesn't know
rode
the
it.
word no.
Most 17-year-olds don't. And
Well, that's what I'm saying to you, Mr. Browning. But for the fact that your son let him ride this motorcycle, we wouldn't be standing here today. And that was very bad judgment on his part. Immature judgment. He could easily be swayed. This time he was swayed by somebody who's 27. Next time it could be somebody who's 14. And if it's somebody who's 14 and they get hurt on your motorcycle, you're not going to have a home anymore. Or a
they're
car,
lucky someone didn't get
or
hurt.
a motorcycle, or anything else. So, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. It's your fault. You got to say, my fault, my bad, my responsibility. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
7 on the calendar in the matter of Ravello versus Turner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Ravello, you and Mr. Turner had a relationship. You claimed two things. First, you claimed that he borrowed some money from you. He repaid the money with some checks. And the first time you went to cash the checks, the first check bounced. So he still owes you that money. You never went back to cash the rest of the checks. And in addition to the bad checks, it is your claim that Mr. Ravello assaulted you. You have certain medical bills that you want him to pay for, as well as paying for the pain and suffering that you endured as a result of this assault. Mr. Turner says that the bad checks were a bank error. having nothing to do with him, and that the assault on you was nothing compared to what you did to him, that you actually assaulted him with a dangerous instrument, your car. When he was attempting to get out of your car, you sped away, causing him serious physical injury. He is counterclaiming. Is that correct,
Yes,
sir?
ma'am.
Let's deal with the loan first. So let's get rid of simple things first. So I'm going to go to you, Mr. Turner, because there are certain things that are stated fact. You seem to acknowledge in your answer that you borrowed money from Miss Ravello.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you borrow the money for?
It was different reasons. Like I needed certain things, like the truck.
You have
my
to keep your
brakes,
voice
my-
up, Mr. Turner,
I'm
because
sorry.
I don't like to
My,
strain. When I strain, I get lines on my face. When I get lines on my face, my producer doesn't like it.
Okay. Well, yeah, different things. Like brakes for my car. I needed that done. I needed down payment on the mortgage, on rent too, on the apartment we had together. That's little things like that.
How much did you owe her?
Probably $400, $500, something like that.
Was it 4 or 5?
$550.
$550. And you gave her checks.
Yes, ma'am, I did. When she went to cash the checks, what had happened with that was I went to go to the bank, get the money. When she took me back, we was arguing in the car.
Do you still owe her the $550,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Turner?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You know, I'm a bottom line girl. Life is short, and I have other things to do too. So on your side, you get $550 because he gave you a bunch of bad checks. So you get that money. Now tell me the date of this assault.
May 19 was the first one.
May 19th of what year?
06.
And were you together after May 19th of 06?
Yes.
How much after?
Till August 2nd.
Of what year?
06.
From May 19th of 06 to August 2nd of 06, did you live together?
Off and on, yes. We had an apartment. He lived with his mom, and I lived with my dad, and we had shared an apartment.
And did you go out for dinner?
No.
Did you share a bedroom?
Yes.
I'm not interested in the assault on May 19th of 06.
That was the most important one.
Well, wouldn't have stayed after the first one. But we're talking about an incident that happened over a year ago. Why didn't you sue him before? Why did you stay with him? Why did you live with him? Why did you sleep with him? Why did you eat with him after he assaulted you? You don't let a man put their hands on you and then come in a year later and wake up and say, well, now I'd like some money. Were you hospitalized?
No.
The assault you cross off to, I should have been smarter. I'm old enough to have been smarter than to let somebody put their hands on me more than once. When was this assault that you're complaining about, Mr. Turner?
In August 2006.
August what?
6. When she hurt my knee, we had seen each other 3 days prior to that, okay? And 3 days after that, I get a letter from the sheriff saying that she had a restraining order on me. I'm like to myself, well, why is that?
Well, after the incident in the car in August, you did not live together anymore.
Oh, after August, I get, the sheriff came to the apartment and gave me a letter saying I had to evict the premises, which, okay.
After August, Mr. Ravello.
Yes.
When you had this incident that Mr. Turner is going to talk to me about,
Yes.
madam. Did you live together?
No.
So the relationship was over?
Ended.
Fine. Now, Mr. Turner, I'm going to see how absolutely fair a jurist I am. I'm not going to entertain her old assault case after she took you back and lived with you and schmutchkied with you and everything. Not interested. But I'm going to hear your version of what happened in August because after that, there was no more relationship.
True. Okay, now.
Okay, you gave her bad checks. She
Right.
was annoyed that you gave her bad checks. So she picked you up in her car
Right. I was
to
told.
go to the bank.
Right. Right.
That's what you say in your answer.
Right.
So now you're in the car, on the way to the bank, going to fix up this problem with the bad checks, and you have an argument.
Okay,
So
I
far,
told
am
her,
I
look,
telling the story almost like I
absolutely.
was there, right?
Okay. I told her,
Now,
hey,
tell me what you said to her and what she said to you.
I told her, look, I don't want to escalate the problem anymore. Let me out the car. When we get to the next stop sign, we'll deal with this later, when we both calm down.
What
Okay.
was she saying to you?
Just going off about different things. Like, no, we're going to go now to the bank, blah, 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 this and that. I'm like, well, you know what? If we're going to go with this kind of attitude, things already heated up. It's best that we both calm down and wait until another day. When she came to a stop sign, I'm like, I'm going to get out. I open the door, let my leg out. She takes off with my leg out the door and pop my knee out of place. Okay, she ended up stopping. Wait, I gets out, end up walking into my apartment. Okay? So when I get out the car, go back in my house, I noticed that something was bothering my knee. I couldn't put like pressure on it. Okay? So then she came back to the apartment. She said, no, I'm sorry, I'll take you to the hospital. Well, I said,
Does that sound familiar to you?
Some of it.
Okay. And did you go to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Can I see the report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
And I will have a chance to say my version of that, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Some of those bills, Your Honor, started in collections because I was told not to contact her, but I was saying to myself, I don't think I should be responsible for those bills.
What was the date of this, sir?
August
2nd.
2nd, yeah, something like in there. So
You might see bills on there for other things because he has gone to the emergency room for other things, many other things.
I see that they x-rayed his knee on August 4th, 2 days later. 2 days later. And I see that the emergency room...
She didn't take me to the hospital. I went myself. No, she didn't take me to the emergency room.
I thought you said she came back to take you to the emergency room.
She didn't take me. No.
Just a second. So she came back to take you to the emergency room.
And I did not go with her. Right. I did not.
Oh,
right.
well,
I didn't want.
go with her.
Right. I didn't want nothing. Why would I go with you to the hospital and you just drove and took my leg out?
Okay.
And one more question.
So you waited. When did you go to seek a protective order? On what date?
I got a restraining order on August 2nd.
Let me see what you wrote when you petitioned the court for a protective order. You told them that he assaulted you in July. You were telling me something that happened in May.
May 19th was the assault, and August 2nd was the second assault.
You don't say anything to the court about August 2nd, Ms. Ravello. Shh.
Sorry.
You say that on July 28th at 5:18, he grabbed my arms, leaving bruises. Fear made that he may pull a gun on me. While I was driving, he unlocked the door, opened it, and exited. Ms. Ravello.
Yes.
When we started this hearing, you said to me the bad assault was May 19th, 2006.
Yes.
Okay? Then you go to the police and you tell the police that something happened to you on July 28th, 2006, that he grabbed you and left bruises. But you just happened to go there on August 2nd, the day he got injured in the car. That sounds a lot to me like you're covering your tracks, madam.
Okay. Whew. All right.
Woo. You tell me you.
I'm a little...
You tell me you. There's a paper trail.
Oh.
The paper trail is clear. And what you told me was clear.
Well, on August 2nd, we started going to the bank because of a bounce check. And he didn't want to go to the bank, and I wanted to go to the bank. So he was in the car, and he unlocked the door and exited while my car was going. So he exited out of the car, and then I stopped. Then I went back to the house. We argued. He grabbed my arms again. That was the second domestic violence incident.
You say absolutely nothing about that here in your application. You say that when he grabbed you, that was on July 28th.
It's not true, Your Honor.
I don't want you to speak.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I might have some date. It was like all around that time. I'm
No.
sorry.
What happened was
at that
you got frightened that you hurt him. You got frightened when he opened the door. He put one foot out the door and you took off. You were so furious you took off.
No, I was driving at the time, and he
Listen
unlocked.
to me. Listen to me, Miss Ravello. Mr. Turner isn't an idiot. He looks like a smart enough guy that would not get out of a moving car.
But he did.
No, I don't believe that. What I believe happened was you were furious. And he said, stop the car, let me out of the car. You may have slowed down. And then he put his foot out of the door and you took off and you were furious. But then you got worried. You got worried that you hurt him.
I did. I was
worried. And then you
worried.
went back. And he said to you, get out of here. I don't want your help. And you said, I better get me to the police station and file for a protective order. And you tell them in the protective order something that happened days before that caused you to come to court and seek a protective order. And when you come to court here, you tell me that he assaulted you and he hurt you May 19th, 3 months before.
He did.
Okay.
I had serious
Fine.
bruises all over my body from that incident.
In May?
Yes. May 19th was horrible. It was a horrible night.
Then you should not have stayed with him, madam. You should not have stayed with him, slept with him, eaten with him.
Well, there's the
partied
I'm
with him.
sorry thing. There's
Well,
the I
sorry
love you.
too.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too. You get your $550 back, but I'm going to take a look at his medical bills because I believe that you caused the injury to him that happened on May 2nd.
But he exited while I was driving.
Mr. Vello, I don't believe you. It's as simple as that, my dear.
Oh, Your Honor, can I say something else, please?
If you want to.
When I went back to the apartment, all of my stuff was in the alley. My clothes, everything. I get a phone call from one of her neighbors saying that, Turner, you better get back to the apartment. Hey, man, your stuff is in the alleys for the pickings. Everything I owned in the apartment was in the alley. I didn't get a chance to get nothing.
Why'd you throw his stuff away for?
Because we were being evicted because the landlord in front, he filed an indecency report because he parties a lot.
Just a second. When were you evicted from the apartment?
I'm sorry.
When were you evicted from the apartment? On what date?
I'm so nervous. I don't have that. I know it. The police evicted us on August 7th. I have it here. I'm going to get it together here because I was wronged here.
Just a second.
August 7th.
And on what date did you go back and find your stuff in the alley?
That same day. And I called the police department because they told me if I came back over there, they're going to arrest me. So I called back and told them.
You had no reason to put his stuff in the alley?
There was a restraining order. He wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave the apartment. There was things involved that I don't want to say right now.
I don't. Just a second. Listen to me. I'm asking you why you threw his things in the alley.
Because he wouldn't leave.
Listen to me. The fact that you put him out after he lived with you, you're entitled to do that. Things don't work out.
Right.
He's got to leave. Thank you for agreeing with me. Keep your mouth shut.
Okay.
You have no right to take his belongings and throw them away. You have the responsibility to put them in a box.
I did.
No.
I brought bags and I brought boxes and I packed them up and I put them behind the house. And my family helped me do that.
No way. No way. No way, madam. No way. You got a bad temper.
I
got a bad temper. He may too, but you got a bad temper. You owe him $1,566 for his medical bills. You owe him another $500 for the property that you threw away. From the money that you owe him, which is $2,066, I am deducting the $550 loan, which means on his counterclaim, you owe him $1,516. Judgment on the counterclaim for the defendant. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hate things that happen the way they did.
It's over.
But like I said, I'm happy I won the case, so that's all that counts.
I have a ticket to Hawaii. I have a new job in Hawaii. I'm out of here.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Crooks. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Kyle Jones is suing his mother, Barbara Crooks, for a loan to pay her bills. Barbara says her son is ungrateful.
Kyle, this is your mom.
Yes, it is.
It is your claim that you loaned your mother $2,000 that she needed when she ran into financial trouble with her mortgage. And you loaned her that money from your college loan fund. You were going to college at the time, and evidently you had taken out some financial aid?
Yes.
There was an agreement with your mother that she would pay you back so much per month. You claim she didn't do that. How old are you, Kyle?
I'm 20 years old.
And when did you lend your mother this money?
On January 19th, 2006.
Did your mother call you and tell you she needed money?
Yeah, on January 18th, 2006. She called me, said that she needed some money for her mortgage.
Why would you call him to ask him for money?
Given my financial situation, I knew that he would be able to help me out, and I knew that he obviously trusts me enough to help me.
Who else was living with you?
My husband, myself, my younger son, and my brother.
How old's your brother?
37.
And how old's your husband?
Same age.
So you call your 19-year-old child to give you money? Why aren't they working?
It wasn't that they weren't working. My brother's mentally handicapped. He's never had a job.
Well, so he must get disability.
Yes, he does.
Okay, so it's not as if you're taking care of him, the government takes care of him. Now, what about your husband? What kind of work does he do?
He works for a grocery store, does night stock.
So you have 3 adults in the house, at least one of whom is contributing through government subsidy to your household. You have a husband who works, and what about you?
I work full-time.
Well, then how did you run into financial difficulty? You have 3 people all bringing in money into a household? How did that happen?
No savings, unexpected bills arise.
Like what came up in January of 2006?
It wasn't just January. In December, I got very ill.
Okay, so January?
In January, I had just a burden of bills. I felt as though if Kyle helped me out, I would be able to pay him back. There was never an agreement stating that I would pay him back X amount at any certain time. It was, Kyle, I will pay you back as soon as possible. No sooner did I start to give him some money, I found out I had cancer, ended up losing my job. So
well, what
if
about
I wasn't,
just a minute, what about your husband?
His income alone was not enough to cover our bills. I'm the breadwinner in our house. Always have been.
Well, you don't expect him to eat this $2,000, do you?
I don't expect him to eat this $2,000. I've paid him a great deal of that $2,000 back.
Show me.
I don't have receipts. If you have a 19-year-old living in your home...
Okay, so you're telling me you don't have receipts for paying him back, but what you did was you allowed him to live rent-free and you gave him spending money.
Oh, and I actually have some receipts where I paid his doctor's bill. I have receipts where I've paid to repair the damages that he's done to my home with his BB guns, with his homemade potato launcher or whatever it is. You know, it's not as though I just didn't give him money. I gave him money, but never thinking that I should have to get a receipt from a child who lives in my house, who I support.
Absolutely, madam. You wouldn't have to get a receipt. You wouldn't have to keep notations unless you would borrow $2,000 from him that you said you were going to pay back. And you did say you were going to pay him back. because ultimately he has to pay back the government that $2,000. That's not free money.
I know. I went to school myself. I obtained my degree in 2002, working full-time, going to school full-time, and raising an ungrateful teenager.
I want to tell you something. If I only had 5 of these ungrateful teenagers who went through college on student loans with no help from their parents.
No help from his parents.
Well, I don't hear any money that you gave him towards tuition, room, and board when he was living in school. Did you pay his tuition? Did you pay his room? Did you pay his board? Did you pay for his books while he was living in school?
No, I didn't.
Well, that's what I just said. He had no help from you. He took out student loans, he took out grants, and you took money from that to pay your mortgage. When you have 3 adults in your house, one of whom doesn't work, but gets government subsidy, I'm sure substantial government subsidy, because it's at least $600 a month. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Of course. And I say at least. And your mortgage is how much a month?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month. So his money alone practically covers the mortgage, so that it's just the rest of the bills that you have in the house.
Can I show you some email and some evidence from him?
Evidence that shows what?
The damages that he's done to my home. I wouldn't think of suing him.
That's what teenagers do.
Oh, they put
Under
BB
ordinary
holes in every wall of your house.
Let me tell you something, madam. You owe him $2,000. Be a good mother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000.
Now it's case number 47 on the calendar in the matter of Johnston Barbera versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Johnson?
Yes.
This is your daughter?
Yes.
Your daughter was the victim of very serious assault.
Yes.
When did that take place?
June 3rd of 2005.
She was stabbed. Is that right? It is your claim that these 2 young ladies, one of them was involved in the stabbing, and since the perpetrator of the crime was arrested, both of them have engaged in a course of conduct that amounts to serious harassment of Kelly. And since their mother has not been responsible in seeing to it that they behave themselves, you want her to be responsible now and pay the damages. Ms. Wilson says her daughters were in no way involved in this and have not, in fact, been harassing your daughter. That's your defense. Is that right?
My daughters were not involved in the stabbing, no.
Okay. Who's Heather? Everybody can sit down except Heather. No, you stay there.
Oh, okay.
When did the stabbing take place, Heather?
June 3rd.
Was it a school day or not a school day?
It was a school day.
Who were you with after school?
I didn't go to school. I was sick that day.
But you didn't stay home.
I did stay home.
No, you didn't. You didn't stay home all day. Listen to me. Let's understand something. I don't care what you told your mother. I don't care what you told the police. I don't care what you told anybody. We're going to have a truthful conversation here. Yes, otherwise, it's going to be very unpleasant for you. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the name of the girl who stabbed Kelly is what?
Michelle Brooker.
Otherwise known as?
Shelly Brooker.
And she is a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet her on June the 3rd? What time?
I don't know exactly what time it was.
Morning or afternoon?
It was afternoon.
Did she come to your house or did you go to her house?
I didn't go to her house. We met up.
Met where?
At the corner store.
How did you know to meet her at the corner store?
She called me and asked her to meet her there.
What did she say to you when she called you?
She said that her and Kelly were going to begin in a fight, and I said, okay, and she asked me to meet her there, and I met her there.
She said she and Kelly, this young lady,
yes,
was going to be in a fight, and she wanted you to meet her there for what reason?
I guess to get in a fight.
So you met her at the corner store. Who else was there?
Just me and her.
And where did you go?
To the park.
Who was in the park?
Datrion, Cameron.
Who's Datrion?
My friend.
Who else?
Cameron, my friend. Chris.
Chris? Who is Chris?
My friend.
Are you tired?
Yes, ma'am. And Marquis.
Who is Marquis?
My friend.
And Shelley?
And a whole bunch of other people that I didn't know.
Where was Kelly?
There.
With whom?
With all of them.
And what about Shelley? Were they Shelley's friends as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Uncross your hands. And what happened when you got to the park?
They were yelling back and forth.
Stop moving. Who was yelling back and forth?
Kelly and Shelley.
What happened?
Well, when I was already there, and then I saw Heather and Shelley walking, and then they sat down like by the bleachers by us, and they were just talking for a little bit, and then we started yelling.
What were you yelling?
Just like we were just calling each other names. And
who were you calling names?
Shelley, and it was going back and forth.
Why were you unhappy with Shelley? And why was Shelley unhappy with you?
We didn't get along. Like, we just never really, I didn't really know her. Like, I wasn't friends with her. It was just kind of an acquaintance.
Were you in the park intending to fight that day?
Yeah.
Who had called you?
Well, I was over at Chris's house with those people that she named off, and I can't remember if Chris called Shelley, but they were talking on the phone, and then it just, plans kind of happened.
Plans kind of happened to have a fight.
Yes.
So you all go to the park to have a fight. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's why you're there as well, correct? Did you have any weapon?
No.
Did you have any weapon?
Nope.
But Shelley had a weapon. When for the first time did you see Shelley's weapon?
When she pulled it out.
And where was she when she pulled it out?
Right next to Kelly, fighting her.
And what did she pull out?
Switchblade, I think.
Switchblade. And what did she do with the switchblade?
Stab Kelly.
How many times?
5, I think. That's what I heard.
Well, you were standing right there.
I was a distance, but I was there, yeah.
And after she stabbed Kelly 5 times, what did you do?
Left.
Who did you leave with?
Nobody. By myself.
Who called an ambulance for her?
I don't know.
Why didn't you?
Because I didn't want to go to jail.
Go to jail for what?
Because they would have thought that I was part of it.
Oh, you think so?
I thought so.
You think so?
I was scared. I was only 13. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, who called an ambulance for her?
I have no idea. I left.
But you did know one thing, madam. You knew that Shelley had committed a vicious assault, and as far as you could tell that day, she might have been dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did Shelley come to your house?
It's not for...
No. When did Shelley... Look at me. When did Shelley come to your house?
Like a month after, weeks after.
Are you telling me that you didn't speak to Shelley between June 3rd?
I spoke to her.
And where was she when you spoke to her?
Over the phone, not in...
Where was she when you spoke to her?
She didn't tell me.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. If your mother believes you, then she wants to believe you. I don't believe you. Because a 13-year-old girl says, where are you? The police are looking for you.
She said, I don't want the police to know, and so I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, yeah, I don't believe that for a second. Did you call the police and tell the police that you had been receiving phone calls from her?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know.
And when did she come to your house?
Months afterwards. You can ask my mother.
You mean, I'm not asking your mother, I'm asking you. Does your mother work?
Yes, ma'am.
She's out of the house Monday through Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't know what's going on in the house when she's not there. She doesn't know what's going on in the house when she's not there, and she doesn't know whether Shelley came to the house, you gave her food, you gave her money, you gave her clothes. She doesn't know any of that. I know it.
Well, I didn't.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. The same way you walked away, leaving her to bleed to death, is the same way that you helped your friend Shelley, because you went there to fight at your friend Shelley's request. That's why you went there.
I didn't go to fight.
Then you should have stayed home, because according to you,
Yes,
you
ma'am,
didn't go to school because you were sick. Now, when your mother came home, did you tell her what happened?
No, ma'am.
No, because you were supposed to be home, so you lied to her. Again, right?
Yes.
How long did you lie to your mother?
I didn't keep making up lies, but
when for the first time did you tell your mother that you had been there and witnessed the stabbing?
When the detective showed up at my house.
That's right. So until then, you kept lying to your mother.
Well, I just didn't tell her. I didn't lie to her.
Sure you did. Stay right where you are. What's your first name?
Mary.
Take your hands off the table. Uncross your arms.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You called again between 8:30 and 9 p.m.
That's the only time I called.
And said, Shelley didn't kill you when she stabbed you, but I will?
Kelly Babert claims former friends Heather and Mary Wilson have been harassing her. Kelly says the harassment started after she was stabbed by one of Heather's friends.
How long were you hospitalized?
For like a week.
Where were you stabbed?
My stomach, both my arms, my back, and my leg.
What kind of a sentence was imposed on Shelley?
She got 2 years. I don't remember what if it was first-degree assault.
She's incarcerated for 2 years?
Yeah.
How old is she?
I think she's a year younger than I am.
How old are you?
17.
She's still incarcerated?
Yeah, she gets out in November.
Did she go to trial?
Yes.
She went to trial? What was her defense? I'm curious.
She said that it was self-defense.
Self-defense. Where was the other knife?
It wasn't.
That's why she was convicted. Now, it is your claim that these two young ladies have been harassing you. And as a matter of fact, you have protective orders. I want you to tell me when the first incident of harassment started.
Well, I can't remember which one was first or whatever, but there was like a whole bunch of stuff off MySpace and just writing back and forth. And Mary was just like talking about she's too old to fight me or whatever, but she has other people that will. And
when did she say that to you?
She wrote it on MySpace.
Can I see it, please?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the police report also that verified it, because when we went to print that out, we were out of printer ink, and she took it off immediately after, but we have 3 of the different things here.
How old are you?
20.
Is there something wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why did you even communicate at all with her?
The reason that I communicated with her was on MySpace, like she had said was true. But through a friend of ours, there's a picture of my daughter on his MySpace, or there was. I couldn't print it out because he deleted the picture, but she said that my baby was ugly.
So what?
And you can't delete male messages off MySpace to show others.
You just told me that you communicated with her.
On a phone call, but I didn't communicate on a MySpace message.
Well, what did you say to her?
I was calling her a whole bunch of names and told her that she should have kept mine and my kid's name out of her mouth. And I did say that she's lucky that I was too old to beat her up. But I never said that I had friends that could beat her up or anything like that. Actually, it says it right here that...
Can I see it, please?
Yeah.
She called the house the same evening. She emailed, and then later that night, Kelly and I both answered the phone.
You called again between 8:30 and 9 p.m.
That's the only time I called. I
And
have not called
said,
her.
Shelley didn't kill you when she stabbed you, but I will?
No, that is not me writing that. Why would I try to kill a little kid? I don't want to go to jail. I have a daughter. This is...
Yeah, I don't think that you wanted to do that at all. I just think that you said it just to be stupid.
Yeah, but
I don't think that you meant it at all. I think that you said it to be stupid.
I mean, yes,
now, when did you know that your sister was having trouble with her?
I knew when the detective came to our house and spoke that she had been at the stabbing. And I figured that they had problems because her and Shelley didn't get along. So I figured my sister's Shelley's friend, then obviously she's not going to get along with her either.
Your sister has a bad attitude. Did you know that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You know, not a bad, very bad attitude.
I'm very
Does your mother know that your sister has a very bad attitude? I can tell from looking at her face. If I were her mother and had a face like that, look at me when I talk to her, it would be the last time I would look at that face, madam. It would be the last time I would look at that face. How old are you?
15.
Do you want to be a miserable, ugly person your whole life?
No, ma'am.
Well, you're starting out that way. You really are. You can either be successful and productive, or you can be a loser. Right now, you're on the road to loser. Big time. Does your mother tell you that?
No.
Well, I'm telling you, big time. You've got a miserable attitude. I can tell that from 20 feet away. I didn't even have to live with you as long as your sister did. You think that people are going to be attracted to you because you're tough?
No, ma'am.
They won't. They'll think you're an idiot. Can't you do anything with her?
I've tried. As you can see, it's complete opposite, and trust me, we've tried. It's just, if you don't have the attitude to change, nobody around you can make you change, and she doesn't want to change, so.
Do you discuss that with your mother?
Yes, me and my mom do talk about it.
You have my sympathy.
Thank you.
You really have my sympathy. I don't know what you're going to do with her. You know, when they're little, you can, deal with them better. You put them in a corner and you'd say, time out. And here's a good crack in your head, too. But she's too big for that.
Just going to wait for her to move out. 18's coming.
What's with you, my dear? Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? Why are you so hell-bent on destroying your life?
I'm not trying to destroy my life.
But you are.
I'm not.
You are. Your mother can't wait for you to turn 18 so that you get out of the house because you're making the rest of the family miserable. Is anybody at home abusing you?
No, ma'am.
Well, then I don't understand why you're so miserable.
Well,
you did absolutely the wrong thing. If a 13-year-old person who's not an infant sees a dog get hit in the street, they call an ambulance. They don't walk home and just, go get something to eat, relax, and do whatever. People with a conscience can't do that. You saw somebody that you knew, a child, your age, get stabbed 5 times by somebody who had a weapon, and you were able just to go home and sleep and get it. It's not important.
I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
You were supposed to get help for somebody that needed it because you were involved. You want to know why you were involved? Because if you and these other people hadn't gone with Shelley to the park, Shelley wouldn't have gone to the park. Shelley took strength in the fact that her friends were with her. You're all accomplices. Yes, you were. But for the fact that you all gave Shelley support, Shelley would not have had the courage to go to the park alone and stab her with a knife. She may have done it on another day, but she wouldn't have done it on your watch. That's why you're responsible. And then from a humane perspective, How could you just walk away and leave someone to bleed to death on the street? Now, I want you to continue to tell me what problems you've had with Miss Attitude over here.
It was like when I was going to Brenda's house.
Tell me what happened.
I was on the 51 and I was going to my street so I could catch the bus back up to my house to get my clothes to go over to hers. And it was like in an intersection and we were stopped at the light, and then Heather and like the people that were with me at the park or whatever were with her, and she walked in front of the bus and she was just calling me names and stuff, and I was getting off at that stop, so I pulled the thing and then I got off the bus or whatever. They all turned around, and then I just went in the corner store, and when I came back out, they weren't out there.
Why do you have any contact with her at all?
I just flipped her off.
Why?
Because she didn't like me, so I didn't want to like her.
Just a second. Between the time she was stabbed and last November, why did you have any negative contact with her at all?
I shouldn't have, but that was the only time that I said anything to her.
Why? Did you say anything to her?
I don't know. I was being stupid. But I have papers here that she wrote me. She wrote me first, before that day. She wrote me.
I'd like to see him.
I wrote her back, and then she wrote me again.
Yeah, she's saying to you, and she uses terrible, terrible language. You have to learn how to, use your words. Find some other language other than four-letter words to express yourself. Stay in school. But she's really saying to you here, why don't you leave me alone? Don't you have anything else to do? Now, what you do say is, I am loyal to my friends, so I'm going to stick by Shelley 100%. I don't like having beef with people, but Shelley was my best friend, and I honestly don't even know why the whole fight started, but you should not have gotten stabbed. But like I said, she is my homie, so I'm going to stick by her. Your conversation with her was stupid?
Pretty much. I shouldn't have called her, and I do apologize for that. I realize that she is the victim in the stabbing, and if I had any control over my sister, she wouldn't have been there.
Good girl. Sit down. Want to stand up, Miss Wilson? Next to your daughter? I'm going to tell you a story. Many years ago, when I was a family court judge, there was a young girl who was going to Fashion Institute of Technology, and she was on the subway by herself, and a group of girls, 5 of them, had nothing to do that day. So they got on the subway, and this girl, whose name was Marisol, was wearing big hoop earrings. This case was probably 20 years ago, but I remember it so distinctly because one of the girls said to her friends, "Run those earrings," which means steal the earrings. And they encircled her, and one girl grabbed her by the hair, another girl ripped off the earrings, and the third girl stabbed her to death. She was 17 years old. And they got the stabber, and the stabber was tried for murder and convicted. You got that look on your face that I'd like to wipe off. Don't put it back on your face. I was sitting in family court at the time, and it was my job to try the other girls who were juveniles, and I convicted them all of murder, even the ones that didn't stab her, because but for the fact that they acted as a pack and they surrounded her and they were there giving her support, that girl would not have had the guts to take her on one-on-one. And I tell you now that that conviction was held up on appeal. So you are very lucky that nobody arrested you. You're very lucky that they didn't charge you, because if you were in my ballpark, you would be spending some time with Shelley. Meanwhile, it's going to cost you and your family $5,000, because that's what she's suing for, and that's what she's going to get. And I certainly hope that your mother gets you some help. Otherwise, you're going to be a miserable person your whole life. That's all. Thank you.
That's case number 73 on the calendar in the matter of Padilla versus Kern.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Padilla, this is your ex-husband. You've been divorced since when?
Our divorce was finalized in November of 2004.
And you have one child together?
Yes.
How old is that child?
He's now 5.
I'd like you to keep your voice up, Ms. Padilla, because I have difficulty hearing you. Not because there's anything terribly wrong with my hearing, but I know that you may be a little nervous. You're speaking softly. You have to speak up like me.
No problem.
Great. Make believe you're yelling at him.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Your lawsuit alleges that Mr. Kern filed false allegations against you with Child Protective Services, forcing you to hire an attorney. You want your attorney's fees back and the expenses that you incurred as a result of defending that litigation. Mr. Kern says he had legitimate concerns over his child, and that's why he made the report. Okay. Do you have other children?
One.
How old?
Same age. A little older by a few months.
Who does that child live with?
Her. I didn't know of his existence till long after he was born. It's quite a story.
Well, it's quite a story, but it has an age-old beginning.
They're 6 weeks apart.
Another 10.
And I assume you've done the appropriate DNA testing and everything else? Paternity testing?
Correct.
So that while you were married, you fathered another child. Is that right?
No, it was before I was married. Before her and I got married, her and I were together. She told me she had an abortion, so we never talked again. Me and her got back together. And then after, actually the day my son Cameron was born, I get another phone call from her saying, oh, guess what?
Do you see that child?
No.
So that there are no other siblings in your house?
No.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
They're 7 and 5.
The 7-year-old is not Mr. Kern's child?
No.
When did you and Mr. Kern separate?
In November of 2002.
So the baby was an infant at the time?
Yes, he was.
Was there any issue as far as custody at that time?
At that time, Mr. Kern left, and Cameron did stay with me. And when we did our divorce papers, we decided to do 50-50 custody. And up until this recent event, we did share 50-50 custody.
When you say 50-50 custody, how did that break down in the week?
We would alternate weeks. One week I would have 3 days, he would have 4. The next week I would have 4 days, he would have 3.
So that really required that you live in close proximity to each other.
At the time, I was in Riverside, California, and he was up in Apple Valley, so about an hour away.
So, Mr. Kern, you had your son half the time.
Correct.
But you, I assume, always knew that there would come a time when he went to school and you couldn't have that kind of an arrangement because you can't live an hour away from each other and still do that.
Correct. I offered to put him in private school, and she didn't want that. She lives in Colton.
Just a second. You offered to put him in private school near you.
Correct.
Well, she didn't want him to be in a private school
She
near
wanted
you. Shh, Mr. Kern, because that would mean that she would lose her 50% of the custody time. Sure it would, because if he's in private school near you, of necessity, he has to spend 5 days a week at your house. In any event, she said, no, I want to put him to school where I am, right?
Correct.
She wanted the child to go to school in her location, you wanted the child to go to school in your location, and then the trouble began. So, Mr. Kern, why don't you tell me the timeline from there? She brought papers to you to ask you to sign off so that you could register the child in school.
Yeah, and that if I didn't agree, she wouldn't let me have my son. She was going to leave in the parking lot right then and there. Actually, it started long before that. My son had lots of marks and bruises on him that were questionable. And every time I'd ask her, how did this happen? It was always the same story. Oh, he got it playing with his brother, or he got it fighting with his brother. One February day, she called me, said, hey, he had a bit of an accident. I don't know if I'm going to take him to the hospital or not. I'm just letting you know. I said, okay, do I need to come down there? I'll take it myself. She said, no. He showed up that weekend, and I have pictures right here. He has a complete black eye. He has a gash in his eye.
I'd like to see it.
And these are some other pictures of bruises and marks on him from when he's come from her house. Hand marks, bruise on his shoulder, other marks on his face from different times. And I took those pictures to my attorney, asked them what they think I should do, and that's when I took that to the court.
I wouldn't say a word if I were you. You are no relation to this case.
That's my wife.
I understand exactly who it is, sir. I understand exactly who it is, and if you want the situation with your son to ultimately resolve itself, I would suggest that she let you do the talking. That's the problem. Well, see, black and blue marks on his arms.
I also have a video that I think you need to see that's important in this case.
Oh, this is his leg.
This is just one of 100 times of how he acts when he goes back to his mother. And I think it's very important that you see this video right here.
Sure.
And after my attorney told me, after I took that to court for next court.
Don't tell me what your attorney told you, sir. What your attorney told you was hearsay.
All right, here we go, guys.
Cameron, come on, baby. Hey, the sooner you go with your mommy, the sooner I get to come get you and we can do Christmas. Come on, honey. Cameron. Come on, it's time to go with your mommy, honey. Don't do that. Come on. Mommy misses you and she wants to see you. Okay, baby? Come on.
I've seen enough. Turn it off, please.
That's not even the good part. The part where he throws himself on the ground, and I asked, let me talk to him to calm him down. She won't let me. He's banging on the window in her car, screaming for me, and takes off.
I don't understand why you're photographing this.
Well, actually, that was upon her request in the court. She wanted to videotape pickups or drop-offs, so if somebody said something they shouldn't, they could take it to court.
That was at her request?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I have it on the minutes.
I'd like to see it. It's a major concern to me to videotape a child like that, who was clearly as young as he is, playing for the camera. Well, this just says the parties stipulate that the visitation exchanges may be videotaped and audiotaped.
Yeah, she did that because she accused me of bad-mouthing her when I pick up or drop off my son. So the judge said that we can videotape or audiotape the pickup or drop-offs. And they...
Just a second. Then she didn't ask for it. She accused you,
and we went to court. Her
Mr. Kern,
said,
listen to me. I'm really big on two parents getting involved and being integral parts of their children's lives, fathers and mothers. I think it's really important. And I don't know which one of you is a better custodial parent. I really don't know. Sounds to me as if you adore him.
It's my life.
And it sounds to me, based upon the answer that you submitted to me, that you legitimately feel that you are a more fit custodial parent. Maybe. But I'm telling you what I'm seeing. The injuries that you've shown me here are nothing compared to what my kids had when they were growing up.
But if your kid came
broken
arms, on his face or something,
broken
would you not be
arms,
concerned?
jumping off the beds with their siblings, banging heads, getting hit in the face with a lacrosse stick, all kinds of things happen to children, especially children who have a close in age sibling.
But then where's the supervision?
Excuse me?
If something like that happens to his face because he was fighting with his brother, where was the supervision?
Can't supervise children all the time, Mr. Kern. What planet are you living on, sir?
This one. These things don't happen at my house. I have 2 full-grown German Shepherds. He has his own bike. He has everything in the world a kid could ever want.
Mr. Kern,
and these things don't happen in my home.
Mr. Kern, what you don't have in your house is another child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And nowhere in that report does he say, my mommy hits me, my mommy beats me.
No, but it does talk about domestic violence, about how her boyfriend hits her and she hit him back. And that's from what he's seen.
Crystal Padilla claims the father of her child, James Kern, falsely accused her of abuse to Child Protective Services. She is suing for her attorney fees.
The only issue in this case, as far as I'm concerned, is do these pictures of marks on the child give him sufficient reason for him to have placed a call to Child Protective Services to investigate?
I never called Child Protective Services. I just filed an ex parte hearing saying, for my concerns about those marks. I never called CPS not once.
Just a second. So you filed a proceeding, an ex parte proceeding, for what?
To get custody of my son so we could find out what was going on. I have letters here from a psychotherapist.
Just a second. So you had 50-50 custody, and based upon these photographs, you went to court through your attorney and filed an ex parte order seeking physical custody full-time of your child based upon these photographs.
And letters from a psychotherapist that interviewed my son to find out where the marks were coming from, which I have these right here as well.
So while the child was with you, in addition to taking these photographs, you took him to a psychologist.
Yeah, upon my attorney's advice.
Listen. Mr. Kern, I was there for 25 years. I know exactly what's going on, sir. I know precisely what's going on. Now, when did you file your ex parte proceeding, sir?
End of April '06.
And when did Ms. Padilla tell you that she wasn't going to allow you to enroll the child in private school in your area?
She served me on my first wedding anniversary, which is March 12th, '06, and that's where the court
Just
papers
a second.
began.
So in March of '06, Ms. Padilla served you with papers seeking what?
That she wanted him to go to school in her area, which is Colton.
So she served you with papers in March of '06. And in April of '06, you saw an attorney, brought photographs, and at that point filed your own ex parte order for an immediate transfer of custody based upon allegations of abuse. Is that right?
According, yes.
I'm getting the timeline here.
Upon my attorney's advice.
That wasn't his first response to my petition. His original response noted nothing of physical abuse.
Okay. Then he took these pictures that he had been saving up and storing up since December of 2005.
That's not true. On my first response, noted a lot of things. The fact that she lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with her sister and her 2 children, with her other son and my son. My son coming to my house telling me he sleeps on the couch with his brother while she sleeps in her room with her boyfriend.
Mr. Kern, how much support do you pay for that child support?
Which one?
That lady's child.
$250.
$250 or what?
A month.
Pay it every month?
Nope.
So you don't pay child support?
Not every month. Sometimes I get behind on bills and stuff. I can't make the payment.
He hasn't paid in over 3 years.
Yes, I have.
I'm getting there. And how much child support do you pay now for this child?
I believe it was $400 a month if she took him to school. I let my employer have the information, and I don't think they've started that yet.
So how much do you pay her?
$400 a month or something like that. I don't quite recall.
Well, the employer hasn't started deducting it from your salary yet, so how much do you give her every month?
Nothing.
Why?
Because if I give it to her, she'll never report it.
But in between the time that the child support order takes place, sir, and they start with the income deduction order, months could go by before that happens. So how do you expect your child to be supported? Okay, so now you have 2 children, and if I am correct, from what you tell me, Mr. Kern, who you want me to believe you're father of the year, you have 2 children for whom
I'm not father
you are
of the year.
currently paying 0 child support. And this from a man who said, I want to put my son in private school near me.
I had 50% custody at the time.
No,
Actually, I had
listen
more.
to me. Listen to me. This is from a man who said, I want to pay for private school. And now you tell me that you have 2 children, 5 years old, for whom you are currently paying nothing in child support.
That's not every month. Just because she hasn't received hers yet, that's the child support agency, not my fault. I'm not going to give it to her and have her deny it.
You got where we're going? He thinks he's a step ahead of me. I was there for 25 years, Mr. Kern. I know exactly what's going on. Exactly. Well, let's finish the scenario. You went to court. You had a lawyer. Did you have a lawyer?
On the Monday, I went to...
Just answer my question. Did you have a lawyer?
On our next court date, we did.
And the child's custody was immediately transferred to the father.
For
Is
the
that
month
right?
pending.
Just answer my question.
Yes.
For how long did Mr. Kern have custody?
Until May 17th of 2006.
And then what happened?
That was our original court date, and we went to mediation.
When you went back to mediation, was a forensic expert assigned to the case?
No.
We were assigned to do a 7:30 evaluation.
And what was the name of the therapist who was doing the evaluation?
Dr. Michael.
You have a copy of that report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. So as a result, I assume, at least in part of the forensic evaluation, the court determined that the custody arrangement that you originally agreed to was not workable.
Correct.
Is that right? And ultimately, primary physical custody was ordered to you.
Yes, it was.
And the court granted you visitation 3 weekends a month. Is that right?
Big drop from having them half the time, huh?
Absolutely right, sir. You're supposed to be smart enough to know that whatever custody arrangement you make when a child is 2 is not going to be able to hold true when the child is 6 or 8 or 10 or 12. And you're supposed to be able to work with each other. And just because you got angry that she wasn't going to allow you to have your way...
How's that right? These pictures were started being taken in December, beginning of December, when she filed in March. So how is it I got mad and all of a sudden, magically appeared some pictures from December? These are concerns I've had for a while.
Either that, sir, or you don't understand what it's like to be a 5-year-old with a 7-year-old sibling, with a black and blue mark on the knee, with a scratch above the eye, with a black and blue mark on the hand, with scrapes across the face. Happens. It happens. And nothing that I read in this report suggested, absolutely nothing, that your child complained that any of those marks were as a result of his mother's actions.
I have some other letters here that you should read then.
Absolutely.
There is also a section about her in the 7:30 evaluation, the psychotherapist that wrote the letters that he's showing you now. And nowhere in that report does he say, my mommy hits me, my mommy beats me.
No, but it does talk about domestic violence, about how her boyfriend hits her and she hit him back.
Listen,
and that's from what he's
the
seen.
problem, Mr. Kern, is that you really are going to have to back off in interfering with what goes on in her house.
If your child sees domestic violence, should I not be concerned?
What I'm telling you is you have to back off as to what goes on in her house. You're not supposed to ask your son anything about what goes on in her house.
The therapist asked him that.
I didn't say the therapist. I said you're not supposed to ask him anything about what goes on in his house. And she's not supposed to ask him anything about what goes on in your house. You're both supposed to assume that each of you love him and want to take care of him and want to protect him and do the right thing. That's what you're supposed to assume. And you, Mr. Kern, are supposed to pay child support for that child, for this child, who you now don't have in your custody. I mean, I read the report, and the report indicated that when this forensic evaluation was done, your son says you don't work, and you're home all the time.
No, I'm a contractor, so I choose my own hours.
That's what he says. He says, my father doesn't work.
Well, I make sure I'm home when he's there.
I'm telling you what your son says, sir.
And I know what he says, and I'm going to
explain
it to you.
My father doesn't work. Well, that's not a good thing for a child to even think that his father doesn't work. That's what he said. Told the
Well, that's
therapist,
because he's
my
5 years
father
old. He thinks a magic wand pays the bills. Just because I go out of my way to make sure I'm home when he's there so we can spend time together. I work when he's not with me.
If you have him with you 4 days a week, sir, you should be working
It's
part
not
of that
4 days
time.
a week.
That's what you told me.
I'm not home
You told
4
me
days
that
a week.
you
It
had
could be 3 days a week,
50-50
1 week.
custody.
It could be 3 1 week. It could be 2 if my
Mr.
wife's
Kern,
off.
you got an
she
answer
watches
for
him.
everything, sir. What you're asking me for is counsel fees. That's what you're asking me for.
Right.
Counsel fees. And I'm not granting those because he went to an attorney. I just want you to think about this. He went to an attorney and sought the advice of counsel who represented him when you filed an application to terminate the 50-50 custody arrangement. So you filed the petition first. He had to hire a lawyer. And he just said, I'd rather be on the offensive rather than on the defensive because that's his temperament.
Well, he didn't consult an attorney first. He stated that my father told him to take me to court.
No, I didn't.
He went, listen, did he have an attorney representing him?
At the ex parte hearing, he did, yes.
Did he have the attorney representing him in the case that you filed?
No.
I'm talking about the original date in May, because that you said was the original court date you had on your application. Did you have an attorney or not?
Yes.
I believe he had an attorney. His attorney started the process, so the attorney of necessity had to be with him. You don't get your counsel fees. It's unfortunate that both of you spent your money on legal fees, but you don't get your counsel fees, just like he doesn't get his. But he's better start to pay child support.
They can't find any child support because I've received a 2-cent check since the child support was ordered.
That is not true.
Well,
here you go.
If he doesn't pay the child support order, what I'm going to suggest you do is go to the court and ask to have his driver's license suspended. You too. The first thing that states have to do under federal guidelines is take away his driver's license. And as a contractor, he needs that. Otherwise, his wife is going to have to drive herself to work and him to work. Don't let him get away without paying child support. That's his obligation as a parent, to you and to you and to your children. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Your case is dismissed. He's not required to pay your counsel fees. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 177 on the calendar, the matter of Klein versus Rosenquist. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
All right, the basic of this case has to do with the fact that Miss Klein says, Mr. Rosenquist, that you were driving her car. She was in the car with you at the time you were driving the car, and you hit another car. And then Miss Klein says that when you got out of the car, the driver of the other car and you supposedly exchanged information, or you gave the owner of that car your information.
That's correct.
Which Miss Klein says was false. As a result of that, she was hauled in by the police because the car is registered in her name and the owner had the license plate, and she got into some serious difficulty. So she's suing you for a whole bunch of things, including fixing her car, the other man's car, because she was originally going to be tried with hit and run. Is that right?
Yeah.
And your defense to the case is, if she didn't like the way I handle it, she should have taken care of it herself.
Well, if you're a driver, you know, you should, depending on what happened, you know, no matter what happened, I feel that she should
Just
give...
a second, I got a feeling this is going to be one of those. One of those slippery things where he's thinking as he's talking. So we're going to get a real kick out of this. Okay? So let's pay attention. This is going to be like Comedy Central. All right, Mr. Rosenquist, let's start again.
Basically, I just feel that she should have had to give her information too, you know, just to follow through, you know, with the information that I gave.
So what you're saying is that... Are you chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Amen.
basically, Mr. Rosenquist, what you're saying is if she didn't like the way I handled it, she should have handled it herself.
Yes.
You're a fast learner. First of all, let's go back. Why was he driving your car? Look at me. Don't smile. Don't smile and don't give me a lot of baloney. Why was he driving your car?
Because he insisted on it, and he was checking to see if I had a noise in my car, and he was driving it to see what was wrong.
Was he a mechanic?
Yes.
Was he your mechanic?
No, he was a friend. That was a mechanic.
He was a friend of yours. Was he a date? Had you gone out with him?
We're just friends, good friends.
And on what day was he driving your car?
I believe it was July 17th, 2002.
And how long had he been driving your car?
Probably 2 minutes.
Where did this accident happen?
He was taking a right into an apartment complex.
Why was he going into an apartment complex?
Because that's where his friend was at, that he wanted to go see if he was home. He takes a right, and the music was up, kind of loud. I have a loud stereo. So he turned into the apartment complex, hit the other car, and The guy got out of his car, stopped us, and he got out of the car, started talking to the other guy. By the time I got out, he said that he had given him his information and that everything was going to be taken care of, that he was going to pay for all damages and for me not to worry about it. And so I calmed down and we went back to his house and I examined my bumper, which it had been scratched and ripped away a little bit, and he kept on assuring me everything was going to be taken care of.
What was the next thing that happened, Miss Klein?
A week later, he was talking to me, and I asked him if the guy had ever called him. He said no, he must have, not really cared, not a lot of damage. And the next day, I get a phone call from my parents saying that the police called saying that I had been in a hit and run, and I needed to call Sherwood Police Department and work it out with them. So I called them. They told me that someone in the accident gave false information to the other driver, and so it's a hit and run, and since it's underneath my name, I'm the one responsible.
So what did you do?
I went to the police station, talked to him, and then they told me that they would put a warrant out for my arrest and arrest me if I did not bring him in. So I went and got him, and I brought him in.
What did you tell the police?
I told the police my version of the story.
Which was?
When we pulled into the parking lot, the stereo was loud, and I didn't even feel anything. It was kind of a heat, dead serious. Did not feel anything at all. I don't know if it was because the subs were going or what, but pulled in the parking lot, and next thing you know, I've got this gentleman standing next to the window. I couldn't even really understand him very well, but I could smell liquor. We were at the river all day, and I actually was drinking too. And he was a little bit belligerent, I felt a little bit threatened, hence the false information that I gave.
So you gave false information?
The only false information that I did give was not my last name.
Well, what last name did you give him?
My mother's maiden name.
So you gave him misinformation?
Still, he got a hold of me.
You gave misinformation?
So be it.
Oh.
I didn't want a drunk person showing up at my house, endangering my family or myself, or anybody else for that matter.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Klein says former friend Michael Rosenquist owes for wrecking her car and then giving false information.
What do you do for a living?
Iron worker.
How old are you?
24.
Do you go to church? I asked you a question.
Religiously?
Ever?
No. Yes, I do.
Do you know the name of a minister?
Do I? A few, yeah.
Good.
I know a few
Then
chaplains.
Just a second.
Sorry.
I'm way ahead of you. So if you were concerned that this belligerent drunk would contact you or go to your home, you say, listen, I don't know who you are, sir, so I'm going to give you the name of my minister. This is my name, and you can get in touch with me through my minister, and I will contact my minister, and we can make arrangements for me to fix your property through that. There are all kinds of ways to do it if you want to be honest. If you want to be dishonest and slick, you do what you did, which is give him misinformation so that he can't track you down. The only problem is he has her license plate number.
That's correct.
So she got in trouble. What did you do about it when you found out she got in trouble? What did you do?
I went down to the police station.
Did you take care of her car? The answer is either yes
No.
or no. Did you take care of the man's car?
Nope.
Why not?
That's what we're deciding here today.
We're not deciding anything. You already told her that you would take care of everything. You said, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I gave him my information, I'll take care of it. That's what you told her. So you lied to her. Isn't that right?
Yes.
That means you're a liar. You also lied to me because you filled out this answer, which I read very carefully, which didn't say at all that you gave him misinformation. It says, he made it very tense, so I gave him my work address as a means of contacting me. So you gave me your work address, but with the wrong name.
Wrong last name.
Wrong name. What's your first name?
Michael.
Okay, let's see this. Bird, how many Michaels do you know? Just think. How many Michaels do you know? Do you know more than 2 Michaels?
I know more than 10 Michaels.
No more than 10 Michaels. What's your name?
Jeff DeMont.
Jeff! How many Michaels do you know?
More than 5.
What's your name?
Josh.
Better not be Michael. You know a couple of Michaels, Josh?
I know about 3.
We're not talking about a very, very odd name. We're talking about Michael. Michael. Right? And you work as an iron worker?
That's correct.
And how many people work in your plant?
My plant?
Where you work?
Where do I work?
Where you work, the plant where you work, unless you do iron work in your backyard.
I build power plants and water treatment facilities. It depends.
So you must work with a lot of people.
Of course I do.
Any Michaels?
More than a few.
So let's not play with each other, Mr. Rosenquist. Miss Klein, I'm finished with playing with Mr. Rosenquist. He is a loser, and a dishonest one at that. So would you kindly tell me what your damages were?
First, I have a $75 ticket I had to pay because they gave me a ticket for failure to report an accident. Then I have an estimate of my insurance with my parents compared to one on my own now.
What do you mean?
Well, because of this whole entire situation, I was underneath my parents' insurance, and the accident was for the other guy's car was paid from my insurance company, and plus this extra ticket on my insurance too. So my insurance went through the roof.
He's not going to compensate you for that. You want to know why? Don't let somebody else drive your car. And if somebody is driving your car and turns up the blasters up so that you can't hear yourself think and you can't hear yourself have an accident, then that's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Where is your engagement ring?
It's home.
So you still have it?
Yes. Yeah, she wouldn't give it back.
Why didn't you give him back the engagement ring?
Because I figured he owed me more than that with his wedding. You stood me up.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Klein says former friend Michael Rosenquist owes for wrecking her car and then giving false information.
You want to know something else? I'm adding on the $75 ticket, $500, because that's what I think your afternoon of having agita was worth when you had to go down to the police station after your parents being called and told that you were being charged with hit and run unless you went down there because he lied.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what I think it's worth, other than taking care of the other person's car. Now, did you do that, or did the insurance company do that?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
Did your insurance company cover the other man's damage, or did you?
No, the insurance company did,
Fine.
and that's the reason why.
What about the damage to your car?
I only have liability, so it didn't cover my car.
Is it a scratched bumper that you had fixed or that you didn't have fixed?
I haven't been able to get it fixed because my insurance has been so expensive. I haven't had a car for 10 months.
You haven't had a car?
Well, I've had the car, but I haven't been able to drive it. I haven't been able to afford it being a college student. But I got an estimate, which is $586.50.
To fix the bumper?
Yes.
So he's going to pay you $75 for the ticket and $500 for either your aggravation or the bumper. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes.
$575, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Please excuse. You may step out.
I think it went well. I'm happy that I got something, at least.
She knows that I was drinking all day long at the rivers. I mean, she was right there with me.
He continuously told me that once he got a job, he was going to reimburse me, and I never saw him or the money after that.
Lost a pretty good friendship over it, and, it's taking a lot of time out of me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Graves versus Darden. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Angelina Graves is suing her ex-fiancé, nurse's assistant Johnny Darden, for the cost of wedding expenses. Angelina says Johnny left her standing at the altar.
Mr. Darden, you don't mind if I start with you, do you?
Go ahead.
Because we're going to, for a brief moment, put the law on a shelf. And let's talk reality and common sense. Okay? According to what I've read in your complaint and your answer, the two of you have been together some 13 years.
Off and on.
And you have a child together.
Son.
Son, who is how old?
7.
Is that your only child?
Yes.
And is that your only child?
No.
How many children do you have?
I have a daughter, 20.
And the two of you finally decided to make legitimate a relationship that had gone on and off for 13 years and were planning a wedding. And Mr. Darden, it seems that the day of the wedding or the day before the wedding, you decided it was a big mistake and you took off.
Yes.
Leaving Miss Graves to deal with the guests, the wedding, the plans, the out-of-town visitors, the caterer, the gown, the wine, the flowers, the everything. You just couldn't deal with it. You couldn't face her and you took off. Right?
Yes.
And Miss Graves says She wants the wedding expenses paid by you because you took off, and what she's requesting is relatively modest at $1,600. And your defense to that was, your legal defense is, we never had an agreement that I would reimburse her for the money that she laid out for the wedding.
Yes.
What's your son's name, Mr. Darden?
Quayon.
And who does Quayon live with?
His mother.
Do you love him?
Yes, I do.
Do you see him?
Yes.
How often do you see him?
Now, about once a week.
And is he a happy child?
Yes, he is.
You love him to death?
Yes, ma'am.
He lives with his mother. So I assume if you're an intelligent man, and you appear to be an intelligent man, that you want the person who's caring for your most cherished possession, which is your son, to be happy.
Yes, I do.
Of course, you understand that you made her very unhappy when you left her with all this.
Yes.
When you left her at the altar, having to have to deal with the whole wedding, and you took off.
Yes.
And what it's going to cost, and I'm not even getting into her bills, what it's going to cost is $1,600 for her to be happy. And if she's happy, Quayon is happy. And if she's unhappy, it's not that she will make him unhappy, it's just that that sort of feeds into a family.
It does.
Are we following each other, Mr. Darden?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you giving Miss Graves support for Quayon?
Yes.
How much do you pay her?
$42 a week.
You think that's enough?
No, I don't.
It isn't. Miss Graves, how much was the entire amount that you laid out?
It was about 21.
And Mr. Darden, your answer says that you also spent about $1,000 in wedding expenses.
I did.
What did you buy?
I didn't buy anything. I gave her the money.
Did he?
He gave me $300.
$300?
No,
I'm sorry.
He gave you $300. So
Yes.
he spent, let's deal with what she has. Did he buy rings?
He bought my ring. Yeah, he bought my engagement ring.
Where is your engagement ring?
It's home.
So you still have it?
Yes.
Yeah, she wouldn't give it back.
Do you want it back?
Yes, I asked for it back.
Why didn't you give him back the engagement ring?
Because I figured he owed me more than that with his wedding. You stood me up. But he can have the ring. I don't want it.
Oh, fine.
He can.
So we can have it back?
Yes.
I mean, I don't have a counterclaim, but as long as you agree, then you can have the
it.
ring back. Okay? So let's say, in addition to that money, you gave her $300, which means that $2,400 was spent on the entire wedding, including your wedding dress.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Was it custom-made wedding dress?
No, it was bought like that.
How much did you spend for it?
I paid $800 for the gown.
So if you spent $800 for the gown and it was never worn,
No.
you could probably sell it for $400, at least. That's half. So I'm taking $400 off the $2,400, leaving $2,000. Now, Mr. Darden, what's going to make Miss Graves happy is not what she's suing for, but you're going to get your ring back, which you can sell. What's going to make her happy is $1,000, which is half of $2,000, because I believe that each of you would be responsible for the expenses of the wedding, even though you got cold feet. It's better to get cold feet before than afterwards. So how do you feel about that, Mr. Darden? You think that's fair?
No.
Why not?
Well, I don't feel I should have to pay. Because I gave her more than $300 on this wedding.
How much did you give her?
I don't have receipts on them because I didn't ask for receipts.
How much did you give her?
At least $1,000.
Oh, for what? Tell me for what.
I don't know what for. She just said she needed money, and I gave it to her. I didn't ask what she was spending it on. I didn't ask for a receipt because I never thought this would come up.
Mr. Darden, the embarrassment alone is worth $1,000, sir.
You're right.
Okay. And the fact that your son lives with his mother and she's unhappy is worth that.
Yeah.
And the fact that somebody made an order for $42 a week support for your only child, which means you're getting off really cheap. Wouldn't happen in my court, I'll tell you that right now. Should make the $1,000 to you a bargain.
Right.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 556 on the calendar in the matter of Robichon versus Farley.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
All right, Ms. Robichaud, you could sit down because you weren't there during this incident.
No.
And Mr. and Mrs. Farley, similarly, I'm just going to have your son step up.
Yes, ma'am.
If I need you, we'll come back. Mr. Robichon, You and the Farleys are neighbors. And young Mr. Farley, and you, I gather, friendly, and he'd done some work for you. Yard work, is that right? On November 12th of 2008, you were on your way to pick up your son from school, and according to your complaint, asked young Mr. Farley here whether he would like to take a ride with you.
Yes.
During the ride to school to pick up your son, is this your son?
Yes.
There was a road rage incident. You were driving your car. You're going to tell me what happened during that incident. Subsequently, it is your claim that Mr. Farley came to your house and punched your truck, causing damage. Mr. Farley acknowledges that he punched your truck, but he says that was only after you punched him in the face, giving him a swollen eye, which required medical treatment, and Mr. Farley's parents, on his behalf, are counterclaiming for that assault. That's what the case is about. So, Mr. Robichaud, why don't you first tell me what happened on the way to pick up your son at school?
Okay, we were going down Clayton Road, and I went to get over a lane, and this gentleman had beeped his horn, so I got back into my lane, and he pulled up beside me. He reached...
You cut somebody off?
Yeah, I cut somebody off.
Well, that's what you say in your complaint, Mr. Robichaud. I accidentally
cut somebody
off.
off.
I accidentally cut somebody off.
Exactly. And he got upset and was beeping the horn, and he pulled up beside me and reached in his glove box, in which he pulled out this taser gun, but at the time I thought it was a gun. So I had slammed on my brakes and let him go by, and the road veered to the right, so I veered to the right and he went straight. Then I proceeded to go to my son's school.
Take your hands out of your pockets.
And when we got there, this gentleman was there. He had jumped out of his car and had hit a taser gun in his hand.
Oh, just a minute. So you're waiting at school?
No, we just pulled up.
Where did you pull up?
We pulled up right in front of the school. It's a street right in front of the school. It's right.
Mr. Robichaud, I'm a pretty savvy lady. I read your complaint very carefully. I'm going to ask you a question again.
Sure.
Did you pull up a block away from school near this car, or did you pull up in front of the school where there would have been a whole bunch of other cars?
Well, actually...
Well, I don't want to hear well, Mr. Robichaud. I want to hear whether you pulled up a block away from school.
No, it's not really a block away from school.
How far away from school was it?
One street away from school.
That's a block away, sir.
Okay. That's fine, a block away.
You pulled up a block away, and you pulled up a block away seeing this other, look at me, seeing this other car that you had just cut off, parked there.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Farley.
Yes, ma'am.
When you pulled up at that street, did you see the other car?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Robichaud say anything about the other car?
Not that I remember, but he did say, here's the guy walking towards us.
Now, what happened when you saw this man walking towards you?
I pulled over, and then I started to go, and he jumped out of the car, out of the truck.
Say this very slowly. Man is walking towards you.
Yeah, so we had pulled over to the curb, just about to the curb.
Why?
Because everybody was stopping to pick up their children.
You pulled up to the curb when you saw the man coming towards you, or before?
Before.
So now you're at the curb and this man is coming towards you. Does he have anything in his hand?
Yes, he has a taser. Oh.
Did the man have anything in his hand?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did he have?
A taser.
Did you jump out of the car? Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
You got out of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
See what the guy wanted. I was talking to him. I didn't run up or nothing arguing with him. I said, what's going on? Because I saw him walking towards the truck.
Did he respond to you?
He goes, what the guys doing that what you did? I said, sorry, sir, we're late, pick up his son. He started getting mad, and then Mr. Robichaud got out of the truck too. Then all of us started arguing, and he grabbed a big board from the back of his truck.
Who did?
Mr. Robichaud.
Now, when they were arguing, what were they saying?
What the just cussing each other out, trying to figure out, just arguing pretty much over some stupid stuff that happened with the road rage incident.
Were you late picking up the boy from school?
We were late leaving, but by the time we got there, we were early.
You were late leaving, so that you were trying to make up time on the road.
Yes.
And that's when you cut off this guy. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. So far, you tell the truth, and I won't annihilate you. Do you understand? Okay. Did this gentleman ever pick up this taser and point it in your direction?
Yes.
When?
When I was outside the truck, when he was walking towards me.
Is that when Mr. Robichaud got out of the truck and got the 2x4?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then what happened?
I just told him to put the taser gun away, and he picked up his phone and said he was calling the police. So when he did that, I got back in the truck and I asked Josh to get back in the truck, and he wouldn't listen. And then I told him I was going to leave, and he still wouldn't get in. So I left and went up to the school to get my son, and just waited until he came out and then got my son.
Who called the police?
I guess it was the people down there at the corner where we were at when they were jumping around out there.
When who was jumping around?
The defendant here, Josh.
And what about you jumping around with the 2x4?
I just got out with the 2x4 and just told him that he better put the taser away, and I got right back in the truck. Wasn't jumping around out there making, Well, I just did it for him, actually, because I didn't want him to get tased or what, I wouldn't have got out to begin with. It wouldn't have had any of this problem,
But then you left him there.
Exactly.
With the guy.
I didn't want to.
Just a second. You left him there with the guy.
Yeah, I know, but I made exactly. But I made sure that he put the taser away.
Where did he put it?
I don't know. He put it in his pocket. Well.
Oh.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Henry Robichon says his neighbor's son, 17-year-old Joshua Farley, punched his truck. Joshua and his parents are countersuing for an assault.
So now the incident is over, and you're back home. You called young Mr. Farley. Why?
Because I was mad that he didn't get back in the truck when I asked him to, so we wouldn't have all this hassle, because he was making a scene in front of my son's school, and I know the parents there and everything. I didn't want to make a big scene earlier, and that all happened.
Why did you not get back into the truck?
I was already on the phone with 911 too, because as soon as he called, I called too, because I felt that was the right thing to do.
Who called? The other man?
The other man, yes, Your Honor.
Did Mr. Robichon see you call the police?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Robichon see the other man call the police?
Yes, ma'am.
He did?
Yes.
And then he left?
Yes.
So you stayed because you had called 911?
Yes.
Did you tell that to Mr. Robichon when you came over to his house?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he say?
For what? Why did you call 911?
And what did you say?
Because I felt that was the right thing to do. After getting weapons drawn on and everything, I felt that was the right thing to do, so I wouldn't get in trouble. So the cops knew what really went on. They heard my side of the story.
Okay. And what did Mr. Robichon say to you?
He goes, that was stupid. I mean, you should have just got in the truck when I told you to get in the truck and left.
And then what happened, Mr. Farley?
I said, no, I'm not like that. I was raised to, if something happens, call the police and do it.
Is that what you told him, or is that what you're telling me?
That's what I told him.
Go ahead.
And then we started arguing. I said, forget about it, I'm leaving. I walked out his front door and slammed the front door behind me.
So this is in his house?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then he came outside screaming out, why'd you slam my door? I was like, what the heck? I was trying to get away from the situation. And then we started arguing. I walked towards his front porch, and then we started...
Why did you walk back towards his front porch for?
To ask him for the money he owes me and the dirt bike he promised me for the work I did. And he said no, and he punched me. So I turned around and yelled for my father and my mother to come down, and he started walking toward me, so I got off and I hit his truck.
I didn't ask you anything. You have a medical record?
No, ma'am, I did not get enough time.
What do you mean you didn't have the time?
By the time I figured out the date and everything, they wanted 30 days in order to get the paperwork to me.
You have a picture of your eye?
Nope, the Kaiser Permanente Hospital has all the pictures. They're the one that took the pictures of me.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Farley, can you describe what you saw when your son came home that day from Mr. Robichaud's house?
I met my son at Mr. Robichaud's house. His hand was bleeding, his eye was swollen.
His hand was bleeding?
His hand was
His
bleeding.
hand was bleeding from punching Mr. Robichaud's
From him
truck.
punching the truck, yes, ma'am. And his eye was swollen, and they were still yelling at each other, so I got between them.
And
asked them to stop. My husband was on the phone with the police, that the police would take care of it when they got there.
All right, Mr. Robichaud, now tell me your version of the events after you called him to come over.
That's right, yeah, he came over and came in, and I just asked him why he didn't just get in the vehicle so we wouldn't have a big scene there and make a big scene in my son's
Have the
school.
police contacted you yet?
No, they left a card on my door.
Well, that's a contact, sir.
Yeah.
They didn't speak to you, but the police
Right.
had left a
card on the door. So when I came home...
So you had to call the police?
Yeah.
Now, after you got the card from the police is when you called Mr. Farley.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
And told him to come over because now they were making a big deal out of this road rage incident.
Exactly.
Right? And you didn't want to have any part of it.
Right.
Right. So you called him to come over. And what did you say to him? You said, why didn't you get back in the car? And he said, because I had already called the police. Go ahead.
And then he goes, don't yell at me. I said, I'm not yelling at you. And then he asked me...
Well, you were yelling at him.
Not really yelling.
Not really is not yelling
well, I mean,
at him. You were
my
yelling
voice,
at him.
I probably told him...
Right now, you were involved in a road rage incident.
Well, I guess so.
And felt that because he stayed there to speak to the police and make this whole thing not go away, you were going to have interaction with the police, which is something that you clearly didn't want to have, which is why you left in the first place, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Of course it's true. That's common sense. So you were yelling at him?
Well, maybe I was upset. Yeah, sure, maybe a little bit.
You were. And then what happened?
He went out the door, slammed the door, and I went right out after him and told him, I said, why'd you slam my door? Why would you act like an idiot?
How did his eye get swollen and bleeding?
Because he swung at me. And, well, he swung at me and I blocked his punch, and he hit himself in the face.
He hit himself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was...
He hit himself?
Well, I mean, well, yeah, exactly. It bounced, you know, his hand bounced off my hand. And...
Take your hands out of your pockets. How old are you? Uncross your hands. How old are you?
41.
He's 17. Your responsibility as the adult when you invite a minor into your car is to behave in an appropriate way.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't, sir. First of all, you left late to pick your son up from school.
I didn't leave late to pick up my son for school.
Yes, you did.
I did not.
Oh, I think you did. I think
you
did.
It's baloney. You're not even listening to my story.
I listened to your whole story. Your story doesn't make sense.
Well, excuse me, maybe I was a little nervous and didn't say it right, but I know for a fact I wasn't late, and
Mr. Robichon, you cut off a car
by accident.
You cut off a car by accident.
Yeah, by an accident.
With a minor in the car, there's no question in my mind that you were speeding. With a minor in the car, you took out a 2x4, which is a dangerous weapon, from your car.
Well, the guy had a taser gun. What, does he want me to just let him tase him?
Do you have a cell phone, Mr. Robichaud? My question to you is a simple one.
Yes, I do, but I didn't have it with me.
That requires a yes or a no. I don't believe it.
You don't?
No, I don't believe you didn't have your cell phone with you. Put your hand down.
His phone was
not turned on. Put your hand down. And there are lots of other cars there. So if you don't have your phone, you don't run out with a 2x4, you run up to a car and you say, please, I don't have my cell phone. Could you please call 911? What you do... Hey, Mr. Robichon, you didn't act like a responsible adult that day.
Yes, I did.
Well, you think you did. I say you didn't. I win, you lose. Your case is dismissed, and I'm awarding him $500 on the counterclaim. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, there's no excuse. You may step out.
Why am I upset? Because I'm right.
I mean, I think it was very fair.
No, I have no comment.
He did what he did, and that's what he gets.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cardenas versus Aguilera, step forward, please.
20-year-old Jorge George Cardenas is suing the mother of his child, 22-year-old Jennifer Aguilera, for the return of his electronic equipment and bedroom furniture.
Mr. Cardenas, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a relationship as young teenagers. You made a baby, and then you moved in with the defendant's parents, where you lived for how many years?
Beginning of 2005, so about 3 years, three plus years.
3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And then things didn't work out, and you moved out when, sir?
August of 2008.
And it is your claim that Miss Aguilera won't give you back things that you purchased while you were in the house.
Correct.
Like what things?
There's a digital camera, a video recorder, a 46-inch plasma TV, a Dell computer, and bedroom furniture.
Okay. Now, Miss Aguilera says that all these things were purchased from a joint account and paid for from a joint account. So she said, this isn't your property, it's our property because it was paid for from a joint account. Miss Aguilera says that when you left, you cleaned out that joint checking account and took several $1,000s.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And?
Yeah, which I've given all back and more.
Just a second, Mr. Cardenas, when did you give it back?
Throughout the past 8-7 months to help you out. Right here.
No. I'm not talking about payments that you made for child support.
No. Child support comes straight out of my check. This is straight out of my bank account.
Shh.
This is straight out of my bank account to her account. It says to Jennifer Aguilera. I highlighted them all in orange right for you.
Just a second. All right, listen. Two people decide to play house. We don't have courts for people playing house. I tell you that right now. And I tell you, I'm not going through your bank account to see who put in what to what, because as far as I'm concerned, you're not married. There are no courts for people who aren't married. You decide to set up housekeeping, and there are no rules. You worry about it afterwards, not me. You're not going to waste court time with this nonsense, and I have no intention of going through a 3-year relationship to see who put what money into what account. Do you understand? You get it? Do you understand that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Your
now, the
Honor,
next thing
all I'm asking
I'm
is
speaking,
for her half. I'm sorry.
Just a second. Listen to me carefully. You are paying for a credit card that's in your name.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, in our name, yes.
No, just a minute. Who's paying for the furniture?
I am. For the past 8 months.
Who's paying for the furniture? Is not an answer.
Do you have a job?
No, no, no,
She
no, no,
doesn't
no,
have
no,
a
no, no.
job.
Just
She doesn't have a
listen.
job.
Don't speak. Do you have a job?
No, ma'am, I do not.
You don't have a job?
No.
So you're not paying for the furniture?
Right.
Right? He's coming to get the furniture. He's coming to get all those things in 5 days, Ms. Aguilera. Do you understand?
So we're supposed to sleep on the floor, me and
I don't
my
care.
daughter?
You know, get a job. You want furniture, get a job. But he's not going to pay for furniture for you. You're not his wife. The only thing he's responsible to pay for is his child. And he says that child support is coming right out of his check. Is the child support coming right out of his check?
I assume so. I'm getting it. I don't know where it's coming from.
No, it's coming from the child support genie. It's coming out of his check. And he's coming within 5 days to pick up all of his stuff, his furniture, his camcorder. What else?
The TV,
I don't have
a
any
computer.
of that camcorder or whatever he's talking about. I have the bed, the TV.
Fine.
And the computer?
The TV was paid off with my financial aid from school.
Do you go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
How many classes do you take in a week?
Right now I'm taking 2. The last 2 classes I need to get into the nursing program at my school.
How many years do you have total?
Shh. You want to ask her questions? Go outside.
Yes, ma'am. And the computer?
Do you have the computer?
No, it's broken. You can take it,
Just
whatever.
fine.
It's broken.
Computer's broken?
You can have it.
Computer's broken? I'd like the value of it.
Mr. Cardenas, it's yours. Go there within 5 days and get your property. There's no reason for you to pay for this stuff if you don't have it. But you obligated yourself to pay for it, put it on a credit card. If you're still paying on the credit card, you're entitled to the property.
Your Honor,
and
what
you're
if-
going to go and get it. Do you understand? 5 days, I'll prepare
Your
the
Honor.
order. That's all. Your counterclaim's dismissed, madam.
Parties are, you're quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Terrace, this is your former daughter-in-law. She was
Yes.
married to your son for a very short time, and it is your claim that she owes you some money. She owes you money for airline tickets that you claim you bought with money that was a loan to her to bring her family to see you over Christmas holiday. You claim she owes you for some wedding expenses that you paid for, and you expected her to pay you back. And you claim that she owes you for one final thing, and that is for some family heirlooms that you gave to her in anticipation of her being your daughter-in-law for a very long time.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson says that these were all gifts. She never intended to pay you back. There was never any discussion of paying you back for the items that you purchased for her. And you're just angry that she divorced your son and married somebody else. You did remarry.
Yes.
When were you married to, I assume, this gentleman? This is your son?
This is my son.
I was legally married to Ethan on January 10th of 07.
And when did you separate from him?
January 25th, I believe, is when he moved out.
Why?
Because he did not want to get a job. He didn't want to pay rent. He didn't want to help with any of the household expenses.
You mean you found this out in 15 days?
Well,
Miss Johnson, you got married in January 10th. January 25th, 15 days later, it was over.
Yes.
Strange. Okay, tell me about the airline tickets, which is what you're complaining about first, Miss Terrace.
The airline tickets to bring Shelley and her daughters for Christmas. I flew them down.
From where?
I flew them from Denver to Las Vegas so they could come and spend Christmas with me.
You have daughters?
Yes.
How many?
2.
So you wanted her to come down and spend Christmas with you?
Yes.
With your son?
Yes.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Shelley had no money for airline tickets, and I was asked if I would purchase them, and I would be paid back.
Who told you that you were going to be paid back?
Shelley.
No, she didn't. That sounds ridiculous, Miss Terrace. You never told you were going to pay her back for the airline tickets?
No, that was an agreement with her son.
Of course not. You wanted your son to come to your house for Christmas. So you said, I'll send you airline tickets. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, Miss Terrace. Right? Of course. I have children. If I want my children to come and spend Thanksgiving or Christmas with me, and they don't have money, I say, I'll send you the tickets. So, move on. I don't believe you that she said she was going to pay you back. What's next?
Okay. Starting with August 14th, my son discovered that Shelley had remarried on February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Their marriage was not annulled until May.
Okay.
They were still living as man and wife.
Okay. Would you tell me what it is that you claim she owes you money for? I'm not the moral police.
Okay. At that time, I told them that I would help out paying for a formal wedding and a reception to be held on May 26th. At that time, after discovering that Shelley had committed bigamy by marrying a man on Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Just a second. You said they were married January 10th, 2007.
Correct.
And then they were supposed to have a reception in May.
Correct.
But they were no longer living together in May of 07.
That's correct.
And you paid for what?
I paid for all wedding expenses.
And?
And I was told that I would be repaid for this. However, after...
Who told you that?
Shelley. It was an agreement that I would be paid back. And after discovering that Shelley married a man while she was still married to my son, I feel she is not entitled to anything.
Just a second. I know what you feel. When did you plan this wedding and make the payments that you're complaining about? In what month?
December.
In December. So you made certain outlays of money.
Correct.
Had your son ever been married before?
No.
Had you been married before?
Yes, ma'am.
So you wanted to make a wedding. Where was the wedding supposed to be?
In my hometown.
In your hometown, for your family and friends.
That's...
Because your son was never married before.
That's correct.
So you said, I'll make the wedding. Miss Tarras, we know where it's going, my dear. That's what you do. You didn't expect her to pay for the wedding. She's got 2 children that she's, I assume, supporting, that they live with her. She wasn't going to make the wedding. You wanted to make the wedding in Las Vegas, where you live, where your son grew up, where you have family and friends, and you said, I'll pay for the wedding. You put down a deposit on a hall, you put down deposit on invitations, and whatever you did. The formal marriage didn't work out, and nothing came of the May event because they were already separated for 5 months by the time May rolled around. So, doesn't work out, doesn't work out. Would have been no difference if they got married January 10th and you paid for the wedding in January, and that was the formal wedding, and they separated 15 days later. You don't get your money back from her. What do you want?
I'd like to add something, Your Honor.
Go.
Amen. I moved out of the apartment on February 20th of 2007. Shelley's second ex-husband, she found out unfortunately had died, had passed away on December 1st. Shelley was having a very hard time grieving with this. And I can remember multiple times her waking up in the middle of the night telling me how much Chris was a better man than me.
Listen, does this have some relevance to your mother's lawsuit, or you just want a cathartic event? What does that have to do? Mr. Tarras, listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you were hurt. However, you are a very lucky man. Very lucky. Because you were about to take on a responsibility of a woman who's a little nutty. There's no question she's a nut. Because she had 2 girls, and she gave up what appears to be a perfectly reasonable guy with a perfectly reasonable family, and married somebody, according to you, who's in prison.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's nutty. So, finding that out now, before you do something stupid like make a baby with her so that you're tied to her forever, you should go like this and say, thank you very much. If it only cost me a few $1,000s to get rid of this nut, it's a bargain. It's the bargain of the century. Do you understand, Mr. Tarras?
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother should understand that, too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've made more than 5 weddings because we had a couple of doubles in there. I know what it's like. None of my children ever paid me back for weddings. Get over it, Miss Tarras. Now move on.
And later today,
this apartment is a pigsty. Don't you clean?
I don't live like a pig, Your Honor.
How did these holes get in the wall?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Tarras says her ex-daughter-in-law, Miss Shelley Johnson, owes for airline tickets, wedding expenses, and the return of a family heirloom. Sandra claims Miss Shelley is a bigamist.
Now, I understand you were hurt. You'll find somebody else, uncomplicated, and do yourself a favor. How old are you?
25, ma'am.
25. Pick somebody without baggage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now sit.
I am, ma'am.
What's next?
Your Honor, due to her committing bigamy.
It's over. She never promised to pay you for the wedding. Move on.
Well, she did, Aunt.
No, she did not.
Okay.
No, that's a fib. I don't like fibbers. I have 5 children. I've made more than 5 weddings because we had a couple of doubles in there. I know what it's like. None of my children ever paid me back for weddings. Do you understand? Even when the marriage didn't work out. Get over it, Miss Tarras. Now move on.
Okay. Well, just the bigamy charges. She marries another man while they're still married. That concerns me.
It may concern you, madam. I am not a criminal court judge. You want to notify the district attorney that she committed bigamy? Go with good luck and go with my blessing. Get on to what I'm here about. The last part of your lawsuit, which is items that you claim you gave her, family heirlooms that you want back.
Yes, my mother makes hand-sewn quilts for all the new granddaughters that are marrying her grandsons. My family is requesting that returned. due to Shelley obviously not having any interest in them since she married a man a month after marrying my son.
Well, you're not entitled to that, Miss Tarras, unless Miss Johnson wants to give it back to you. Do you have that quilt?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Would you like to give it back to Miss Tarras? She would like it back.
I can send it back to her grandmother.
Fine. Perfect. What else?
The diamond necklace that I would like returned.
No, you don't get that back.
Okay. I bought that as a daughter-in-law, but...
Good. She was your daughter-in-law for about 15 days. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep going.
The expenses for the wedding.
I already told you. She owes you absolutely nothing. She's being gracious in returning a quilt that you say was made by a family member that you want back in the family. And that's only her being gracious to return that to you. So you're not entitled to anything else, Miss Tarras. I'll prepare an order with regard to the quilt. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This is the woman that I trusted and I loved with all my heart, and I can't believe she did this to me and my family.
I'd rather be alone and, be married to the right person than to be married to the wrong person.
It's a felony in the state of Colorado. We've already checked it out. So we will be pursuing that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jacobs versus Nelson Inkhorn. Step forward, please.
Gazina Jacobs is suing her former tenants, Benjamin Nelson and his girlfriend, Vanessa Inkhorn, for rent, utility bills, and for severely damaging her rental property.
Ms. Jacobs, you rented a unit that you had, apartment,
Yes.
to the defendants. They were referred to you by a neighbor. According to your complaint, you had to evict them. They owed you rent. You want your rent. You want the damage that they did to your apartment, which you say was substantial. Mr. Nelson and Ms. Inkhorn say you owe them money. You kept their security deposit. They did not cause any damage to the unit. They were current in their rent until you shut off their electricity and their power, and they have a counterclaim. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Nelson?
I'm a handyman, mechanic, painter. I do a lot of things.
Do you work for anybody or you work for yourself?
I work for myself.
And what do you do?
I'm a hostess.
It's just the two of you in the unit? And how much was the rent?
$960 a month plus electric and gas.
Which you were supposed to pay for yourself.
Yes.
When did you move in?
I believe it was September of '06.
When did they move in?
They moved in at the end of January of '07, and the lease agreement started 1st of February of '07.
I don't think that's right. We
Can I
lived
see
there
the
longer
lease,
than that.
please?
I have the lease agreement.
Are you on any prescribed medication, Mr. Nelson?
No.
You moved in February of '07, sir, not in September of '06. Okay. So, first let's start with the question of utilities. According to your answer, you say she agreed to rent us the unit and we signed the lease for $960 a month, including utilities. Now you say you were supposed to pay your own utilities.
Electric and gas, yes.
You were supposed to pay your own utilities. Did you put them in your name?
Right before we got evicted.
Eventually we had to.
What do you mean eventually you had to? You had to when you moved in February.
Well, they were in her name up until then because it was part of the agreement that our utilities would be included in the $960 rent.
Not according to him.
According to this evidence in these papers, that's what it was. It was in her name for a long time.
Well, it was, of course. It had to be in somebody's name.
Yes, and until she turned it off without notice.
Just a second. Were you supposed to pay the utilities?
Yes.
Why didn't you put the utilities in your name starting in February?
Because that wasn't part of the agreement that we had.
Of course it was.
We didn't have the money at the time.
That may be an answer.
So we agreed to do it when we had the money.
Yeah. Just a second. When did you have the money?
I believe it was in April or May.
By April, she had already turned off the utilities.
That's when we got it in our name.
Because you didn't pay them. When did you move out?
We moved out around the beginning of June, around June 10th.
June 9th was our last day.
So you owe her rent for February, March, April, May, and June. 5 months.
No,
that is not true.
We've paid her up until like the last 2 months before we moved out.
I'm telling you that's what you owe her.
Okay.
Show me that you paid 5 months' rent. If you didn't give her rent for 5 months, tell me when you stopped paying her rent.
I always brought her cash. I stopped paying her rent on about end of April. I stopped paying rent because I didn't have the money because I lost my job.
All right, fine. So far, you owe her $1,150 in rent, and you didn't pay the utilities for February, March, and April. I assume that they paid them in May because then they had to put them in their own name. At least
yes,
you were
exactly.
off the hook. So how much did they owe you for utilities?
Utilities is, I got the receipts right here, $767.69.
Now, you have pictures of the damage to the apartment?
I sure do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
There's several sets of pictures. I also have a list from the repair person and the checks that I did pay a person to repair the $4,000 worth of damages.
How did these holes get in the wall?
That was a prior roommate.
Whose roommate?
Ours. A bad selection of a roommate.
Well, you owe her for this damage.
Yes, I believe we do. We're responsible because...
You are. It's your roommate. Go find your roommate.
I'm putting in a small claim right now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That master bedroom, I know it was their bedroom, and right below those holes was their mattress. So, yeah, you can see her head. There,
Your
right
Honor,
where he...
That is untrue. She's made a lot of allegations about us, about him doing bad things to hurt me, a lot of reason why those holes are in our walls.
When was the last time the police were called to any residence where you have ever lived for domestic violence?
Never. Just this once. If she'd called.
Just a second. When in any of your residences were the police called on a complaint of domestic violence?
None that we know of.
She just said once.
Well, no, we believe that's what she called about.
Yeah,
because they showed up, but nothing was ever done about it because nothing was wrong.
They showed up at the residence because they were looking for him.
This apartment is a pigsty. Don't you clean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we had a roommate that came in while we were at work and damaged a lot of stuff.
It's filthy. That doesn't happen from a messy roommate. That happens from people who live like pigs.
I don't live like a pig, Your Honor.
Well, you did. I never saw a place so filthy.
I had to go through my house in 2 days' time, and I had to pretty much tear everything apart that I had and find what was sentimental to me, pack it up, and then start throwing a lot of my things away.
Should have paid your rent.
Your Honor.
You should have paid your rent. That's what happens when you don't pay rent or utilities.
We'd agreed to start paying it off. We'd actually started paying it off. And
listen, she's not your mother.
I know.
She's your landlord. The first thing that you did was you moved into the apartment. You were supposed to put the utilities in your name. You didn't. Then you have a counterclaim that she had no right to turn off the utilities because she got tired of paying $767 for your utilities. Well, then you had no choice, but you put them in your name. At least she's off the hook. I don't know whether you stiffed the utility company or not. I assume you did. Now, then you leave an apartment like a pigsty and you blame it on a roommate. Well, so far it's everybody's fault but yours. Everybody else is wrong. She's wrong.
I'm taking responsibility since it was my roommate. I have to.
I don't necessarily think it was your roommate, sir.
I
don't necessarily think it was your roommate. I don't believe necessarily it was your roommate just because you say it. Do you understand?
Oh, I understand.
Good. I'm glad you do. Okay, so far you owe her $19.17 just for your rent and the utilities.
And that's the detailed list of what was repaired?
Nothing was repaired, Your Honor, except for the holes in the walls, because I live right next to that place, and so does my neighbor, and she happens to walk by and she sees our things are still being used. A refrigerator that she said was damaged that we need to pay for to replace, still being used. It was like that before we moved in.
That's a lie.
Show them these pictures, please.
The refrigerator was not repaired, and the refrigerator I'm not suing for. I'm just suing for the repairs Mr. Bean did on my rental unit.
Your Honor, I was going through all these items. That's why it looks like a pigsty like this.
Hey, just take a look at the toilet. The toilet isn't going through the items. That toilet hasn't been cleaned, it looks like, in 6 months. You owe $5,000 for your cleanup, for your rent, and for your utilities. Now, give me 30 seconds or less on your counterclaim. Let's go!
We don't believe we owe her because nothing was fixed before we even moved in.
Forget it. Next.
All of our stuff that was in the house, she told us we would have 2 days, and we had
Why
nowhere to
didn't
go.
you get your stuff out?
We stayed up all night trying to get our stuff out.
We had
but
2
we had a
days
house
time
full of
to do
stuff,
it.
so we got out what we
Did you
could.
pay rent in June?
I was giving her a couple hundred every week.
Did you pay rent in June?
Not in full, no.
Counterclaim's dismissed. You owe $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Earl versus Mays. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Earl, you and the defendant were sort of in a relationship, I gather, and you moved in with him along with, I think, your children. It is your claim that he became abusive, that you had to flee the apartment, that he owes you for rent because you paid the rent, that he assaulted you, you want to be compensated, that he kept some of your personal property, you want it back. Mr. Mays says that he was really nothing but nice to you, that you had a drug problem. Is that right?
Yes.
And that you were incarcerated at least twice when you were living with him, that he took care of your children, he enrolled them in school, that on the day of the alleged assault, you in fact assaulted him. He's got the police reports to prove it. And he is counterclaiming because he says that when you left the apartment, you stole some property that belonged to him. When did you meet Mr. Mays, Miss Earle?
In December at court. We met at the courthouse.
You met at the courthouse?
Yes, we did. I was moving from my condo. I had just sold it, and I was looking for a place to live, and me and Mr. Mays were kind of dating, but we weren't, like, going out together.
You met him in December. When did you move in with him?
In February. Me and my 2 children moved in with him.
How old are your children?
12 and 13 at the time.
What kind of a drug problem do you have?
I don't anymore. I did have a glass, speed, meth, and so does the defendant.
Where is the father of these 2 children?
In Fullerton. They live in Fullerton. My children are with their father right now.
Good. Are they there pursuant to a court order?
Now they are, yes.
Now, what was your arrangements with regard to rent? Your rent was $450 a month, according to your complaint?
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid him the rent for April, according to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened in April.
My birthday was on the 6th of April. We went to Vegas. We had returned. Me and Brian were having a lot of problems.
Would you look at me?
We were doing drugs at the time. I mean, I must admit I was fully into the drugs with the defendant at the time. I had recently sold my house, so I did have quite a bit of money. The night before in question, all this happened, I had went to the bank in the evening and took out, I believe it was approximately $2,500. I went out that evening and spent like $1,000 on drugs.
Where were your children?
That's a good question. They were with their father at the time. They had returned that night when I had come home. I was very sick at the time. I didn't even do anything. I was very sick. I came in the house and I pretty much laid down. That whole evening, Brian tried to start fights with me. He knew I had money, or he knew I had something, or whether money, drugs, I'm not sure. When I had gotten up that morning to get my kids ready for school, I remember I'd parked my car in front of the house instead of in our driveway in the back. And I went to go move my car and get my money. I had a lot of problems with him. I
don't want to hear about all your problems. You left your money in the car?
Yeah, exactly. So when I came back in, he grabbed me by the throat, took my money. We were fighting. He held me down. If I remember right, I got a couple good punches in there because he did hold me. I mean, I think I did get it. So he grabbed the phone, dialed 911. And the bottom line is he totally beat me up. This guy is 6'2". He beat me up, took my money.
Report?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have the report, do you?
I was not there.
You have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
No, I'm talking to her. Do you have
I tried to get him. I couldn't get him through the courthouse, through my public defender.
You were charged with assault? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, and I was arrested, but they dropped charges.
But you were arrested?
Yes, definitely.
Well, this is a copy of an incident that happened on April 23rd.
It must be some of the other paperwork that you have there.
Yeah, well, this has to do with Miss Earle assaulting a police officer on April 23rd after she attempted to get her children out of school. And there was a restraining order. You understand that there was a restraining order at that time preventing you from being within 100 yards of your children.
Yes, but I did not know that at the time.
Well, then you knew it. You found out.
Yes, I did.
All right, good. Here we go, on Tuesday, April 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
There we go. Well, your 2 sons say that they heard Mr. Mays beg you to please move your car that you had parked in the street so that he could get his car out of the driveway to go to work. Begged you over and over again. You were so blitzed out on speed, you probably don't remember that. But your 2 sons remember that you hit him twice. He hit you not once. That's according to your own sons.
I know. It
All
was 6 o'clock
So what do you want? What do you want from me?
My kids did not see him grab me by the neck and grab my purse and take my money from me.
Miss Earle, if you want to have a clear picture of what happens, you have to have a clear mind.
Yes.
When you are living your life in a drug-induced stupor, which you were on
Yes.
the night of April 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't rely on anything that you say to me. Do you understand?
Okay.
Good. So I don't know what it is that you want. You're not going to get any money for an assault because the only thing that I have is a police report indicating that you assaulted him. That's all I have.
You can't tell just by looking at this guy he can beat the crap out of me?
I want to tell you something else. When somebody is spinning around the world on speed, they think they have the strength of 10 people. According to your own sons, he stood up and said to you, hit me if you have to. You hauled off and you hit him once and then you punched him again on the other side of his face. That's what your two sons said. He certainly, according to the police, has a history of domestic violence.
Oh, yeah, he was arrested. He was arrested right
So were
then and
you.
there, but not
You
then
were
and
also arrested 2 weeks later in school when you made a scene and assaulted a couple of cops who went to get you away from your children's school.
I was never assaulted, no cops. I
Oh,
had
sure
never.
you were. You want me to read what the police officers say?
Please, yes.
Oh, sure. I'll be
I've
delighted.
never heard it.
I'll be delighted. Officers Tucker and Harris arrested Earl for her involvement in their case. On my way to the jail, Earl began to kick the back of my seat and call me profanities, such as a She seemed irrational and very upset as she was being arrested. Okay. Want me to go on?
No, but that's not...
That's what you did to police officers. That's what you did to police officers.
You said I assaulted a police officer. That was calling him a... That's not assaulting somebody. That's not punching somebody. My God.
She told me that she had been sick all night from crashing on meth high. She went on to say that she was addicted to the drug and was coming down from being awake and under the influence of the drug for approximately 3 days.
Sure. But that doesn't say I assaulted a police officer, man.
You're absolutely right. It didn't say that you assaulted a police officer. It said you're a rational human being.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
I have
sure
absolutely no evidence. I have absolutely no evidence that you were assaulted by the defendant. What you were suing for is the return of your rent because you paid April's rent, and as of April 8th, you were no longer in the house. And I find that you caused that yourself by assaulting the defendant, so you are not entitled to any rent back for April. Your personal property. Do you have any of her personal properties?
What?
Is not an answer. I expect an answer from you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I left what was left out in the back, and she had come by with some friends and picked that up. There's a couple things that are left.
What's
Dead
left?
on arrival?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who was arrested the night of the 10th?
I was.
For what?
Because they found some of the plaintiff's paraphernalia in the...
Oh, my God. He is my drug dealer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Pamela Earle says ex-boyfriend Brian Mays beat her up in a fit of rage. Brian claims it was Pamela who beat him up.
Put that down. What's left?
There's a box sitting back there. I don't know what it is. It's
Fine, but
just...
it's all boxed.
Yes.
Who is this person?
This is a witness that saw what was going on and watched her move the stuff out and take some things of mine.
Does he live next door?
He's my roommate. He was my roommate at the time.
All of our roommates, Your Honor.
Okay. All I want to know is where can she go to pick up her boxes? You want to take it to a local precinct at a set time?
It's right across the street. That'd be fine, Your Honor.
Fine. We'll give you a date.
He's going to have dead on arrival on all my crap,
Miss
Your
Earle,
Honor.
I want you to be very quiet. I'm losing patience with you very slowly. You want your property back. Whatever he has, he is going to bring to the police station 5 days from today's date. You can go and pick it up there. If you're not there 5 days from today's date, they're going to throw it out. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, you want to tell me what property you claim she stole from the house, sir?
I have a list of everything.
Oh, my God.
What's a family lanyard?
They're trading pins that me and my children had collected through the years going to Disneyland on our trips.
Your Honor, I only got a pack of cigarettes from the guy. That's the only thing I took.
You see, when you use drugs, you find it hard to control yourself.
That's my...
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up.
Those are
Mr.
my
Mays,
drug
have you been in a drug rehab program?
Yes, I have.
When was the last time you were in rehab?
Early 2002.
For how long?
14 months.
But then you fell off the wagon, Mr. Mays.
Yes, he did.
No, ma'am.
Oh,
yes,
sure
he
you
did.
Sure you did. You know how I know that you did?
How's that?
Very easy. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have taken her into your house. Because if you're in a program for 14 months and you want to stay clean, you don't pick up a drug addict in a courthouse and say, come on to my house. That's how I know. You understand each other?
I was trying to help.
I'm not interested in your being a knight in shining armor for this drug addict.
Yes, ma'am.
You may sound better. You may sound better than she does, but the drug rehab program didn't work, Mr. Mays. Did you see her take any property from the house? Look at me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your name?
John River. Sorry.
You ever in drug rehab?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you leave for the last time?
3 years ago, Your Honor.
Tell me about what you saw Miss Earle take from Mr. Mays' home.
She came in approximately 9 or so at night when Mr. Mays was
What date?
Still incarcerated. I think that was the 12th.
What was he arrested for?
It was part of the domestic violence. So
Who was arrested the night of the 10th?
I was.
Yes, he was.
For what?
Because they found some of the plaintiff's paraphernalia in the...
Oh, my God. He is my drug dealer, Your Honor.
Paraphernalia.
And so they took you away?
Yes, they did.
Go ahead.
So when I came home that morning, house was in disarray. Saw a domestic violence pamphlet, so I proceeded to call the police station. Found out that Mr. Mays was incarcerated. About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, her boys showed up. I allowed them to take their property, their bikes, their father. About 9 o'clock at night, she showed up, and I let her take what I thought was hers. There was a brown folder that I believe had stamps in it. The Disney pins that were around the necklace, I did see those.
You did?
Yes.
Where did you see those?
They were hanging in the kid's room.
Did you have children living with you?
No, I do not.
What's a Gerber knife?
It's just a utility knife, like a...
What's a green bottle?
It's something that we picked up when we were in Vegas.
Mr. Mays.
Yes, ma'am.
This is nonsense. This is nonsense, Mr. Mays. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about a Smith & Wesson knife.
That was given to me by my brother in 1981. It was inscribed at Christmas. And,
so what do you want from me? You think she still has it? If she took it, you think she still has it? You think she knows where it is? You think she knows where it is? Mr. Mays, you should have been smart enough after being out of rehab for a few months and having been there 14 months not to pick somebody up who was a drug addict in a courthouse and bring him into your home. That was pretty dumb. You're lucky that all she took were a couple of pairs of sunglasses and a couple of kitchen knives. That's all. Your counterclaim is dismissed. As far as your claim is concerned, Ms. Earle,
yes,
I have absolutely no proof that he assaulted you. I have absolutely no proof that he owes you any rent. You chose to leave that day. You fled. You were high on drugs. You acknowledged that you took out $2,500 from the bank to go out and buy $1,000 worth of drugs, leaving your children home unsupervised because, according to you, they came home at some point that evening and you were dead to the world. I have absolutely no sympathy for you. All I can suggest to you is you have a responsibility. If you make 2 children, you're supposed to be a reasonable parent. Stop worrying about the past. Stop worrying about a couple of dollars that you paid and didn't use in rent. Start worrying about being a reasonable parent. And you, sir?
Ma'am, even though he witnessed her take the stuff, it's not.
Oh no, he didn't. Listen to me. He said he saw her take a folder that he assumed had stamps in it. That's what he said. He said he saw her take a lanyard that was in the boys' room.
That was my kids' room too when they came over and stayed there.
He said they were in the boys' room, is what he said.
Yes.
My kids, when they come to visit me, they stay in that room.
No, that was the room I rented, ma'am.
Listen to me. That's what he said. You didn't say anything about a Smith & Wesson knife, did you?
No.
Good. All right. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They're both drug dealers, both of them.
I never dealt no drugs to her. I never sold her any dope.
And trust me, if he says I beat the out of him, he's a win. Dude's a win.
She needs help.
Yeah.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ercolani versus Wilby. Step forward, please.
Casino worker Mary Ercolani is suing her deceased friend's husband, casino worker Alan Wilby, for a gambling debt incurred by his late wife. Alan says Mary enabled his wife's addiction.
Ms. Ercolani, it is your claim that Mr. Wilby owes you $4,000 for a debt that was incurred by his wife.
That is correct.
He says he owes you nothing. So you want to tell me about this debt?
About the 3rd of August, she called me at work.
Where do you work?
For casinos.
Where is that?
That's in Las Vegas.
So she called you at your place of business, at your work, at your job, and said what?
She said, I'm going to get an early out tonight. Why don't you come over and we'll play for a while?
Play what?
Gamble. Play the machines. I went over to the Aladdin, and she said to me, do you have your credit card? I said, yes, I do. She said, can you get me $4,000? We went to the cage. We purchased tokens there, our chips. I gave her the tokens for $3,000, which she cashed out and got cash for, and 1,000 cash.
And what did you discuss with her about this money?
Well, she immediately wrote me this check that I have right here.
Let me see what she's got.
And she said, I'm due an inheritance from my great uncle, I believe she said. And she said, well, as soon as I get my inheritance, I'll give you your money back. And she has borrowed off me through the years and has paid me back $200 or $300 a month, but it was never this large amount. And so she handed me that check, and she said, as soon as I get the inheritance, you'll get it. I said, I'm going on vacation. I need my money back before going on vacation in October. My family are coming, and I got to have this credit available for my vacation. She said, oh, you'll have it back. I'm sure I'll have it by the end of August or early September at the latest. You'll have it long before
Did you get it back in October?
No. I called her, and we talked in September. She called me, and she said, Mary, I apologize, but I don't have your money yet. One of the aunts and a cousin have contested it. But as soon as I get the money, I'll give you your money. Or I'll write the date on the check, then I could deposit it in my account. And that's what my plans was, to deposit this check.
I understand what your plan was, but unfortunately, Mr. Wilby's wife took her own life in November. Is that right, sir?
15th of November.
Had your wife had a history of depression?
Yeah, she was on, I don't know what it was, Prozac, I think.
Did she have a gambling problem?
Big gambling problem. I tried to get her to go to Gamblers Anonymous, which she did a few times. And she'd do good, and then every time she'd get with this lady, she'd start all over again. I tried to get her to stay away from her, but according to both of them, they were really
That's not a
best
true
friends.
fact. We didn't get together that often.
Well, you already told me that you lent her
times a
money
year
over.
was too much.
Shh. You already told me that you lent her money frequently and that she paid you back.
And I would leave and go home, and she would go out on her own.
I don't understand why you would give her $4,000. I'm not necessarily doubting that you gave her the money, but if you knew that Mr. Wilby was concerned that his wife had a gambling problem, why would you give her $4,000?
Why wouldn't I give it to her? She was
Because-
my best friend.
Well,
She
listen-
asked me for it. She needed it. I gave it to her.
Well, then that's your problem. I just asked you a question. You didn't answer the question. I said, why would you contribute to her gambling problem?
Because I'm a gambler also, ma'am.
Well, then you deal with the $4,000. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Các em thân mến, chào mừng các em đến với video mới ngày hôm nay nhé. Ở video này chúng ta sẽ ôn tập một bài toán về hỗn số. Và ở trên đây là biểu thức cô sẽ cho là biểu thức A đi. Nó sẽ là 82/7 trừ ở đây. Chúng ta sẽ thấy ở đây thì chúng ta thấy là tính chất kết hợp giữa cái phép trừ và phép cộng, đúng không? Ở đây cô thấy là A trừ cho B cộng C. Thì các em có nhớ A trừ B cộng C sẽ bằng gì không? Bằng A trừ B và trừ cho C, đúng không? Vậy thì chúng ta sẽ mở ngoặc cái biểu thức này. Rồi đây sẽ bằng 8 2/7 trừ đi 3 4/9 trừ đi 4 2/7. Ở đây các em thấy là có hai phân số có cùng đặc điểm. Hai hỗn số có cùng đặc điểm là hai hỗn số này. Chúng ta sẽ sử dụng tính chất giáo hoán để đổi cái phần này, đổi vị trí cho hai số này nhé. Chúng ta sẽ A sẽ bằng 8 2/7 trừ đi 4 2/7 và trừ tiếp 3 4/9, đúng không ạ? Và kết quả ở đây thì trong ngoặc này chúng ta tính trước 8 trừ 4 là con 4 và 2/7 trừ 2/7 là hết luôn. Vậy thì ở đây 4 trừ đi 3 4/9, đúng không ạ? Ở đây A sẽ bằng 4 trừ đi 3 4/9. Ở đây chúng ta có thể mượn một cái phân nguyên ở đây, chúng ta sẽ viết biểu thức thành 3 và 9/9. Đúng ạ. 39 27 27 cộng 9 là 36 36 chia 9 bằng 4 trừ 3 4/9. Chúng ta sẽ trừ phần nguyên trước là 3 trừ 3 hết và 9/9 trừ 4/9 sẽ bằng 5/9. Hoặc cách thứ hai, ở biểu thức này các em có thể ghi được cách thứ hai ở đây sẽ là 4 trừ 3 4/9 sẽ bằng 36/9 trừ đi 3927 cộng 4 là 31/9 và kết quả sẽ là 5/9. Có hai cách để các em có thể tìm ra được kết quả. Một là chúng ta sẽ đổi thành hỗn số là từ đây ra thành số này. Đó. Còn nếu như một cách nữa là từ 4 thành 39 đây chúng ta sẽ đổi thành phân số. Đúng không ạ? Chúng ta sẽ đổi thành phân số. Đây chúng ta đều tìm ra được kết quả là 5/9.